Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 14 sit starts. Let's go and get it, guys. Playoffs on the line for so many of you. Maybe bye weeks on the line. Maybe you just want to avoid that last place punishment. Whatever the case might be, it is here, and the playoffs are here next week, the best time of the year. So let's go. Let's make sure we go out and get this dub in Week 14. Tons of news, tons of sit starts to get to today. But as we're getting here, as Bulldog saying right now, first hit the like on Sunday. Let's go, Bulldog. Indeed, I greatly appreciate that. If you enjoy at any point what you're hearing, those thumbs ups really do help us get out to more people. The heart button on Twitter, all of that good stuff greatly helps us out. Thank you again for choosing to spend your Sunday morning here with me. Cannot wait for this awesome Sunday, and hopefully we can help you guys get the questions right. So in terms of what we want to first cover here, we have the Week 14 takeaways. We'll hit some news. Thursday Night Football takeaways, that is. I had forgot to change that banner, so doing that real quick. And then we will hit all the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line, D-line, all that good stuff for you guys. And then it is on to all of your questions the rest of the way, as we do each and every Sunday here. So thanks again. Let's quickly cover, though, just a few things from Thursday Night Football. Wasn't a whole lot other than the fact that we got ourselves a phenomenal game here on that Thursday Night Football game. Ultimately, excuse me, a little sick here today, but we're doing good. We're cruising today, baby. Ultimately, Jaden Reed was the biggest disappointment, so I apologize in advance if any of you started Jaden Reed. Would have been much better going Tim Patrick, who had 43 yards and 2 touchdowns, and maybe could be a stretcher on waiver guy. That was one of the more actionable things from the game. I've always loved Tim Patrick as a player. He seems to really be sliding into that Josh Reynolds role and thriving even more than Reynolds ever did at this point. So he'll be somebody I'm recommending and looking forward to on the Week 15 waiver wire. Other than him, 8 more targets for Jameson Williams. That's his most since Week 2. We talked about how he's been trending the right way since coming back from their bye week. 4 straight good weeks now for Jamo Williams. St. Brown was actually the biggest disappointment. 5 catches, 43 yards for the Lions there. And Laporta, 5 catches, 54 yards, 7 targets were his second most of the season. So again, another one that suggests what there. So Jared Goff going 283 and 3 touchdowns, but really not helping many fantasy owners in terms of the ancillary weapons because nobody was starting. Tim Patrick did get Jahmyr Gibbs a receiving touchdown. He had 43 on the ground, 30 through the air, and that touchdown. So solid day for him. David Montgomery did his usual thing. For the Packers, ultimately, Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns, almost a 4-touchdown day for this guy. Whew. Absolutely beastly for him. He's becoming one of those true stretch run heroes. This was against a Detroit run D that was giving up the second fewest points to the running back position as well. So if you have Jacobs here down your fantasy stretch, you have to be feeling phenomenal. And then Christian Watson, 100 yards on the day, just his second one on the season, but also his second one in the last 4 weeks. He is really starting to cook. He once again, as we pointed out ahead of the game, led this team in routes and snaps and all of that good usage metrics. So Christian Watson is trending towards somebody you might be able to use here down at your stretch runs. So definitely check to see if he is. I've seen him still out there in about half of leagues, which is crazy. I know that number has been trending upwards, but just in case, take a peek at your waiver wire and see if he is there. The only other guy was Tucker Kraft, 41 yards and a touchdown in that solid effort for him. Wicks had 5 targets, 4 catches, 49 yards, but nothing overly crazy there. Not somebody that I think we can go out and trust at this point. So that wraps up. I always like to go through those really quickly because we've been having loaded mailbags. You guys have been so kind and so generous throughout this year. So that will wrap up the takeaways. We will dive on into all the news and everything we got to get to at this point. As always, if you do need to cut the line, if you got to get in and out today, that the super chat is the way to do it. It greatly helps your boy. Right on cue, my man, Anthony Fella, every single week, always hitting your boy up. Thank you so much for your support of the show, Anthony. It is so greatly appreciated. You guys have been incredibly generous all year, every Sunday. And if you want to cut the line, help your boy, keep these lights on here on these Sundays, it would be so, so greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, Anthony, for your generosity each and every week. You're consistently showing up for your boy. Let's get these first round bye weeks. Indeed, as Anthony implies, you're always in that hunt for the bye week, Anthony. You are a true wolf. Let's dive into this one. Full PPR, Braelon Allen or Zach Charbonnet? Whew, really, really tough question there, fella. And they're two of the big guys we're going to talk about in the news. So this is a kind of a good segue to get to some of that news. The reason we're worried about both these guys is Breece Hall and Ken Walker are both out this week. Ultimately, of the two, I do lean to Charbonnet only because they're similar talents, very solid backups, two of the best talented backups in the league. Charbonnet, second round pick. This guy is we've seen it on multiple occasions. And what I like about Charbonnet, yes, we assume Braelon Allen's going to step right in, be the lead guy. Most likely is the case here. The thing with Charbonnet is we've already seen that. We've had 2 games of him being that number 1 running back, and he absolutely thrived in that scenario. He had 15.4 and then 24.2 in his 2 starts. He outtouched the next backup, Kenny McIntosh, 40 touches to 3. And now he gets a very solid matchup, middle-of-the-road matchup versus Arizona. Nothing scary about that. And so just knowing that Charbonnet is going to be the 3-down back, knowing that he has thrived as the starter already this year, I assume all those things will likely be true for Braelon Allen. But what if Isaiah Davis, we saw him vulture a touchdown even with Breece Hall in the lineup. What if he's more of a nuisance? The Jets as an overall environment, I just think the Seahawks are more stable. The Jets have been an absolute dumpster fire. Rodgers stinks. And so I think Allen, again, he's right there in my top 20 running backs for the week. Certainly a decent matchup against Miami, a top 10 matchup for running backs. He should be a very solid start this week. But I do question, what would Isaiah Davis's role be? Is Aaron Rodgers just going to continue to implode? This line has been horrendous all year. Not that the Seahawks line has been terrible too. But ultimately, again, we've already seen it from Charbonnet. If we get out of Braelon Allen what Charbonnet's done as a starter, we'd be pumped. We'd be pleased. And so, of course, there's worlds where Braelon Allen outscores Charbonnet. As players, I actually like Allen more. I mean, we're talking about a 240-pound monster that has speed, that can move, that has shown he can absorb 30 touches a day throughout his college history over there at Wisconsin. They just breed running backs over there. And so I really do like Braelon Allen. There's no doubt about it, the youngest player in the NFL. But if he does what we've already seen Charbonnet do every time he started, then we would be very happy. And so I'd rather just go with the guy I've already seen it from, fella. I have Charbonnet just a bit higher in my rankings there. Both of them great plays, but if I had to pick one of my backups that's now a starter, it would be Charbonnet. Thank you so much, as always, Anthony, for your generous support of the show. Sal, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, Sal. Thank you so much for the support as well. Sal needs a flex, Waddle, MBS, Elijah Moore, or Brandon Cooks. Ooh, this is a pretty good one. A lot of the best waiver wire options of the week on here compared to Waddle, who was supposed to be your stalwart, your guy that I don't have to change a dang thing about. And here he is just each and every week, a carousel for Jalen Waddle. So what do we do here? Do we play him or do we play a surging Elijah Moore? To me, I'm going to not B. Cooks is one I can cross out. I know he scored the touchdown last week, but I don't buy that fully. He's not somebody. And then you got MBS, who, of course, has scored now 4 touchdowns in his last 3 games. He's been absolutely cooking. And you wonder, does this streak stay alive? It's kind of like that Nick Westbrook-Akinyi thing, 38 catches on the year and 8 of them are touchdowns type of situation. And so what do we do? What do we do with these guys? I actually do lean to Elijah Moore. I know the matchup is not very strong there against the Steelers. Doesn't look great on paper, but they've actually been decently generous, middle of the road at minimum. Again, it's one of the toughest matchups on paper, 24th in terms of points allowed to wide receivers. Not a spot we typically target, but then you look at the slot, and that's where Elijah Moore is doing most of his damage, where he's running the vast majority of his routes, and that's where Pittsburgh has really struggled to defend relative to their other wide receiver positions. And we've got Elijah Moore now with 12, 9, 8, 5, and 14 targets in his games with Jameis's starts. And one of those was a blizzard day as well. So 12.5 plus half PPR points in 3 of 5, really 3 of 4 if we cross out that snow game. Monster volume. I really like Elijah Moore in this one. Of course, Jalen Waddle is the most intriguing talent here. We saw a blow-up game just 2 weeks ago. So, if you want to go to him, I totally understand it. Man, you got no Sauce Gardner either for the Jets. So I think about that one. I was like, all right, that seems pretty great as well. But he had that 24-point day in week 12. And what else has it been? He had 14 in week 1, 24 in week 12 against the Patriots. And he hasn't even crossed 10 half PPR points since then. Just 2 games that have really been viable and useful. Again, the Jets shouldn't be a brutal matchup by any stretch of the imagination with Sauce Gardner out today. I don't know. It's tough for me to enthusiastically recommend Jalen Waddle with what we've been seeing these last few weeks, Sal. So I think I'm going to ride the volume here. I'm going to go with Elijah Moore and hope that, the Jameis show can continue here. Because, I'm a big fan of what he's been doing. And, of course, we got Cedric Tillman already ruled out as well. So that is where I am leaning myself. Thank you so much, Sal. Thank you so much, Anthony, for your support of the show. My man, Luis Perez, always super chatting. Thank you so much. Need you. Win and in. All right, let's go. Stakes are super high. I know this is one of those Sundays where it's pretty much a playoff game for a lot of people. We are already at the fantasy playoffs. So let's dive in, Luis, and see what we can do for you. My 2 receivers, Pickens and Nabers, both injured. Seems like Pickens is good to go. Nabers far more questionable, and one of those situations, the rumblings are, even if he plays, going to be on a snap count type of deal. So he really is risky here. And I look at your options here. You have Thielen, Moore, Tucker, and Austin are on waivers. What do you do? And so, so for waivers, you're saying Calvin Austin, intriguing, and Tucker, I'm guessing Sean Tucker? I'm trying to, Tucker Kraft already played. I believe you're referring to Sean Tucker. I know it's a receiver question, so that's where I'm getting a little confused. Like, is this now a flex question? What do we think of? So if it's Sean Tucker, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, I'll double check for it. But at this point, Bucky Irving's going to play. Sean Tucker was an intriguing roster stash if Bucky Irving was going to miss. Not going to be the case today. So ultimately, of these options, I think we're going to keep tracking it as the day goes on. My heart is saying, like, you can't bench Pickens or Nabers, even though especially the report on Nabers is sketchy. It could be a limited workload. And then I just think, like, one, he keeps getting banged in practice. What the hell's happening in Giants practice each and every week? That was a groin injury. That was a hip flexor. What is Malik Nabers doing in Giants practice? And what are the Giants doing to him in practice? It makes no sense to me. In a season, though, that's completely lost, like the rumblings were from Schefter, they're not going to shut him down for the year. I still, my sources are better than Adam. Obviously not the case. But ultimately, I still question, if he goes out there, takes a hard hit on his first catch, gets up and he's gimpy, like, is he going to really get back in on a season where they have nothing to play for? In fact, tanking is probably better at this point. So Nabers does really worry me. I'm okay with Pickens. I don't think he's much of an issue. He popped up with a hamstring thing, but it's more just like a rest for the walkthrough type of deal. So for me, we were talking about Elijah Moore with Saul's question before this, Lewis. I do really like Elijah Moore. We're giving away kind of the Verlo sleeper before we get to our sponsored segment here, the best mattresses I've ever found. My God. So ultimately, I do like Elijah Moore, and I really think I might actually put him in over Nabers today to avoid that risk. Very, very sketchy situation. It's so tricky because then you can always picture the world where Nabers is just Nabers. And I know the last few weeks that hasn't really resulted in a ton of volume, ton of production here. But I mean, the volume, I shouldn't say a ton of volume, 11, 13, 10, 9, 13. The volume has been there. It's just the lack of production has been pretty stark. 11, 10, 8, 9, 11. He's solid, fine. But Elijah Moore's been finishing as a higher receiver than him anyways and seeing very similar volume himself. I believe in his quarterback a lot more. We don't have that injury risk. It's such a tough call. Lewis, because again, that matchup against New Orleans is so juicy. 7th most points allowed to receivers, but over the last 5 since Lattimore has been gone, even more. It's just a great spot for the guy if he can go. So I would say this. I would likely, as of right now, this exact minute, probably play Elijah Moore. I'd play it safe. Ultimately, if there's reports, Nabers has no limitations. He's looking good. Warm-ups were kind to him, and he's ready to rock today. Okay, I'll go back. I'll pivot and return to Nabers, no doubt about it. But for me, I am likely going Pickens, and I'm likely going Elijah Moore. You also have a little mini correlation there. If that game shoots out, like, boom, you got 2 of the bigger weapons in there. I don't love Thielen today. I do like him as a pickup quite a lot, but he should be squaring a lot of his matchups out with Cooper DeJong today, who's one of the highest graded corners and just been – it's very rare you have to find a corner that you avoid, but with Thielen, a 80% slot player, and that's where Cooper DeJong is just lighting it up right now. Maybe might win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Probably will. I don't trust him today myself. So I lean Elijah Moore and Pickens here, and I avoid the Nabers risk. Oh, it's very tough, though, for sure. Hot take, Geno Day. Okay, Lewis. I mean, that is a semi-hot take. Geno's had some huge days this year. We know this offense is more consistently pass-happy, one of the highest pass rate over expectations in the league. So it's a hot take, but it's certainly viable. It's been 3 weeks since we've seen anything remotely like a Geno Day. 25 points against the Rams in week 9, 17, 13, and 12. It's been pretty ugly. But, hey, maybe it is a Geno Day. We'll find out. The Cardinals definitely not a bad spot for a quarterback to have a day against by any means. So, yeah, again, Lewis, we're going to go Pickens. We're going to go Eli Moore. Thank you so much for your generous support each and every week, brother. Logan Tillman needs 2 flex PPR. Nabers, Hopkins, Worthy, Waddle, Elijah Moore, Chuba, Sincere. Start either of those running backs over Dowdle or Braelon. So the first answer is no. Neither of those running backs belong over Dowdle or Braelon. Those are definitely the first 2 starts. Love those guys. Love Braelon in that spot start. Not as much as Charbonnet has that first question illuminated, but ultimately he's a great play. Top 20 running back for me this week. And then Dowdle, he's just been, that Thanksgiving Day, showed his talent. The Cincy matchup, nothing to worry about there. Plenty of points. They should be able to move the ball. Cooper Rush looking better by the week as well. So that makes me feel good about Dowdle, who has truly taken over that backfield. So now we need to pick 2 of these guys. I am leaning. This is a really good one, Logan. Need a win and points. So that does obviously, and that's great context to have too, because so one of the safest options is Chuba, but is he really safe? He had 2 points last week. The matchups against the Eagles is not a good one on the ground for him at all. So to me, I feel like Elijah Moore. Oh God, how many times have I been burned by that guy in the past? He just needed Jameis. I swear. I knew I was right all along. I maybe it's just my old fandom of Elijah Moore coming back to me. But especially if you need points, he's been racking them up. And again, the matchup on paper is not incredible here. 24th from the allowed to the wide receiver position. So not great, but ultimately much more generous to slot receivers than the outside receivers has Pittsburgh been. That's been like a Mike Tomlin trend too. It seems like a schematic thing. Every year for the last 5 years, it's been slot receivers against the Steelers are always decent bets. And so obviously I still like Judy too. I'm +5 ECR on Judy as well. But Elijah Moore, I really am intrigued by today as a streamer. With, again, Cedric Tillman out. He's had just ridiculous volume with Jameis at the helm. Just to repeat those numbers, 12, 9, 8, 5, which was a blizzard, and 14 targets in his starts with Jameis. 3 out of the 4, he's had 12.5 or more half PPR points. So volume has been there. Production has been there. I like going Elijah Moore. And I think Hopkins tonight, this is the type of game against the Chiefs where they're going to need to lean on their aces, their big bodies, the big tough players for them. And so I think Hopkins, whereas we've seen some games where the route share is just a little like, what's going on? Why is Hopkins not in here more often? I don't think we're going to get some games from Andy Reid today. It's a huge divisional matchup. Playoff buys are on the line. Seeding's on the line. And so I like going Hopkins. I think that's going to be a big night. This one really again boils down to, Logan, like, how comfortable are you with the Nabers risk? And it's just so often I'm trying to learn from my process and get better. And, I've always, not always, but I often am just play your studs and see what happens. Get the guys that have gotten you there. Don't take unnecessary risks. I mean, not even like stomach the risk and just start your studs is usually how I've played these type of situations in the past. And I just feel like it bites me in the ass every time. And Nabers it's really sketched me out, like a hip flexor, a groin, all these things going on. If it wasn't a great matchup, it'd be easy. I just say, don't even consider him. Just bench him. Don't deal with the headache all day today. But snap count conversations already happening. But, man, it just takes like 2 catches against this pathetic Saints defense, too. And you say you need points. And I mean, of all these options, if anybody's going to get you like 35, it would be Nabers. But I really question it. I really do. And again, Chuba makes me, he was a ton of points throughout the year, but that matchup really scares me. And he looked horrible last week. I think Logan, especially in a PPR, I'm going to go with the 2 receivers, Hopkins, Elijah Moore. Similar to Lewis's question, if we're getting positive vibes on Nabers, we got to keep tracking that news. He's looking great. He came out feeling awesome today. Shouldn't face any type of restrictions. Then it has to be Nabers, if we get any type of trend that way. But if it is, snap count, which is the latest reports was he's expected. I'll just read the exact Adam Schefter tweet. I have it in my notes here because we're going to cover this news anyways. Listed as questionable due to hip flexor and lingering groin issue. Will try to play, but the team wants to see how he feels in pregame warmups. And as one source said, it would be more of a limited role. I don't like that. The other tweet from him is they don't plan to shut him down for the season, even though they've been eliminated. So conflicting reports there, but again, a limited role despite the good matchup. Of course, they're going to give him the most valuable touches in that type of situation. But I worry with a lost season here. One bad hit, one gimpy limp to the sideline, and we're not seeing him the rest of the day. So it's just not something I can stomach right now. Again, unless we get, pregame report, Nabers looks amazing, full role expected today. Well, then you got to fire him up. If I don't see something like that, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to pull my rankings in and put him up in a second. I do want to get to precision building super chat as well. So just to summarize, Logan, I know I was kind of breaking down a lot of options for you here. I like to go Hopkins. I like to go Eli Moore. The other guys I'm considering are Chuba and Nabers. Waddle, these guys are all in the same boat. Worthy could get deep. Like, very tough question. I can see, and I hate that it's like such a high stakes question too, because man, like this is need a win, need points. Like any of these guys could blow up. Any of these guys could bust. They're all in the same tier. There's not like a clear cut. Usually I have a guy that's like a tier or two ahead of the others. This is just a group that's all together. But to me, the ones I feel best about are Hopkins and Elijah Moore for that one, Logan. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you get that win. I hope you get in. Keep me posted how everything goes, brother. Precision Building, what's going on? Thank you so much for your super chat today. Tight end, Ferguson or Disley? Thank you. I've actually gotten that exact question quite a few times, and I'm going Jake Ferguson. Great matchup against Cincinnati. Top 2 matchup for tight ends. We just saw Disley destroy that team. Speaking of the Dis, the good news for this one too, the only world where it's like maybe I consider Disley is if we get Lab McConkey ruled out. And with Ferguson playing on Monday night, you could wait that one out and see. I even still, though, Ferguson this year has been such a steady volume hog. And ultimately, we saw Schoonmaker racking up like 8, 10. He was getting heavily used there as well. So I love Jake Ferguson in a good matchup in a role that we know is pretty established there in Dallas. They love throwing to the tight end in this McCarthy scheme these past few seasons. I like Jake Ferg. I like the big Ferg to have a touchdown, to have a big day on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals there. So yeah, I'm going him, even if Ladd's ruled out. The only way that gets close is if it's a good matchup for Disley too, top 4 matchup. for tight end. So both these guys in good spots. I can definitely see why it's a question. But I'm very big into Jake Ferguson today. That is where I am leaning. 2 spots ahead of Disley, though, so it is close for sure. And then Adam Heatwaves tossing in a super chat, which I am not quite able to see at the moment. It just is that. So, yeah, Heatwaves, I'm just looking for your question. Doesn't look like it's there quite yet. So do toss in a question with that, and we will look there for sure. So thank you so much for your support. I'll be on the lookout for that question indeed. Adam Heatwaves, thank you. But we are going to now pull in, like I mentioned, my rankings because there is some news to cover. And what I've been doing on these recent shows is bringing in the news, bringing in the rankings rather, while we cover the news, and then talking about, showing you how it's going to impact it. And that way there's no real question marks. I think I'm going to bump him slightly below. No, it's you go for it here. So this way you know exactly where everything's ending up. And again, Adam Heatwaves, I'll be on the lookout for your question. Thank you so much for your support. I don't know where exactly that went, but let's pull in these rankings. And then again, there it is. I'll answer your question, and then we will do the rankings bit here with the news. Keenan Allen, Adams, Garrett Wilson, Jennings, and Debo start 2. All right, yeah, there it is. I see you, Heatwaves. And thanks again for the super chat. So I lean, this is a pretty good one. It's tough because, Garrett Wilson, Adams, Jennings, Debo, all in some of the toughest matchups for wide receivers this week. And Keenan Allen's been cooking, since he I feel like he just wasn't healthy for a lot of the year. And I know DJ Moore is also cooking, and he's going to play today. So if it would have been an absolute smash, like it's got to be Keenan Allen, come on, type of situation. Had DJ Moore been ruled out, but even with him in, the last couple games, 15 targets, 9 catches, 86 yards, and a score. Then 2 touchdowns, 73 yards on Thanksgiving Day. The wide receiver 8 and wide receiver 2 the past 2 weeks for Keenan Allen since Thomas Moore took over, now the new head coach. I actually really like Keenan Allen here. And I have him low in my rankings, and I don't know why. I like him more than all these guys that you asked about. So I'm going to go Keenan Allen. It's not going to be Debo for me. I know McCaffrey being out, maybe he gets a boosted up backfield role, but he doesn't look good. He just does not look good at all. And I probably lean to one of the Jets guys over the Jennings. I like Jennings, but the Chicago matchup scares me. Miami's not a good matchup either, though. But I look at Adams, and I think I'm leaning there. 11, 13, 7, 12 targets. 11 plus targets in 3 out of the last 4 games. Has, a 5-catch, 66-yard touchdown day last week. Him and Rodgers is probably their last year together. Like he's going to try to keep getting his guy some. So I think I'm going to go Keenan Allen and Devonta Adams, I think, is how I'm playing that one. Garrett Wilson, I think, is more talented, but he's been the clear number 2 option these last few weeks. Double-digit targets, again, in 3 out of 4 for Adams, whereas we've had 6, 8, and 10. Not bad volume for Garrett Wilson. He had that 21-point day, but then also, other than that, it's been 7, 4, 7. It does seem like Adams is the number 1 there. So I'm going to go Devonta Adams and Keenan Allen for you there, Heatwaves. Thank you so much for the support. And we got Texas Hustler. Thank you so much for your generosity here, brother. Need 2 for Flex, Charbonnet, Tracy, or Braelon Allen. Thanks for your knowledge, and let's go like and sub. Dallas, Texas is watching. Indeed, Beverly, Mass is watching back at you, Mr. Hustler. We greatly appreciate your support each and every week. You're constantly coming in here with super chats, so thank you, my guy. I would lean Charbonnet is probably my favorite option of this bunch. Again, we had an earlier super chat asking this exact question, Texas Hustler, and to summarize it, I was essentially getting at the fact that, we got 2 talented backups taking over their backfields. Which offensive environment do we like more? I like the Seahawks more than the Jets right now with the dumpster fire of Aaron Rodgers leading the way. And then we also have already seen it here from Zach Charbonnet, 24 points and 15 points in his 2 starts earlier this season. 40 of the 43 running back touches went to Zach Charbonnet in those 2 games. A monster workload, doing phenomenal in every time he's gotten it as well. So Charbonnet is my play. And then after those 2, Tracy versus Braelon Allen, I have to decide the same exact thing myself, Texas Hustler. I am leaning Tracy very, very slightly over Braelon Allen myself. The New Orleans matchup is phenomenal. They've been giving up the most rushing yards across the last 5 weeks. They've just been an absolute sev on defense in general, but especially to the running back position. And he's just been lights out, Tyron Tracy. Then you got Malik Nabers potentially limited as well. I am a little worried about the 9 carries in back-to-back weeks, lighter workloads here. But I think the receiving, as a former wide receiver, I can see that ticking up. Their pass rate's been ticking up a little bit, which could help Tracy ultimately get a few more dink and dunk opportunities. And we've seen some huge games, 22-7, 15-7, and then 14. So he is on that every other week plan. That does make me slightly nervous, but I love the New Orleans matchup. I still have questions over Braelon Allen and whether or not Isaiah Davis will be involved, who I also like. I'm a huge fan of Braelon Allen. I think he is definitely going to be the main lead back here. But ultimately, I still question, will Isaiah Davis end up vulturing something like he did last week? Whereas I have no questions for Charbonnet. I do think Tracy's limited role to start last game was more so a fumble related. That's like sending a message. He didn't fumble last week, but it was more so like you blew it before. And so I like going back to Tracy here, and I think he'll get a monster workload as they try to feel that one out. Thank you again so much, Hustler. Thank you, Mark, so much for your super chat. We've already got 8 super chats. We're only a half hour in. You guys are so generous here. I really appreciate it. Good morning, Wolf. Pollard, Aaron Jones, Bucky, pick 2. Oh, man, great options here. I got to start with Bucky. I know he was limited in practice and questionable to go, but how could you bench this guy right now, Mark? You'd lose your fantasy locker room. 24 and 26 in his last 2. And it's not like that's like he's just only starting to ball out. We had 16, 12, 15, 18, right before that. 1 5-point dud against the hardest run D in the league. Otherwise, Bucky's already been rock solid, and now he had a 25 carry day. Sure, it was against the Panthers, the best possible matchup you could ask for, but the man smashed. The man was highly used. He was the clear-cut lead back, the running back 1 on the week, was running back 3 the week before, the running back 6 the week before that. Bucky's killing it, and he's so fun to watch. He's so talented. I can't bench that guy. And the Raiders, too. Not a bad matchup by any stretch of the imagination for Mr. Bucky Irving. So I got to go with him as the first option. Pollard versus Aaron Jones. That one, I was like, which one do I actually like more? I have to peek at the rankings real quick because I like to do it off the gut. I want to tell you who I feel, but I'm just like, I like both these guys. Without peeking, I do think I like Pollard a little more because he gets Jacksonville. What a great matchup. Second most points allowed to running backs, whereas Aaron Jones, he's had his own fumbling issues. Cam Akers getting more and more involved by the week as well because of those fumbling issues. So if any of these guys, Atlanta's a good matchup though too. So it's, I'm going to go with Pollard. Oh, yeah, and only 5 carries for Aaron Jones last week. That's sketchy. 4 targets. So, I think he needs a little bit of bump down in the rankings for me. I'm going to go Tony Pollard there pretty comfortably with the Jacksonville matchup, with the sketchy concerns over Aaron Jones these last few weeks. That is where I am leaning. Thank you so much, Mark, for your super chat. Thank you so much, everybody. Texas Hustler, Adam, Anthony Fellow, always coming in. Saul, Lewis, you guys are awesome. Logan Tillman, the win and get in, the tough. What do we do with Malik Nabers situation? It is tough. It is a brutal situation out there, folks. But let's dive on into that. Wraps up the super chats. So we are going to cover some news. Of course, again, if you want to support your boy, you'll get to cut the line. It's so generous and so greatly appreciated. for the season over here. You guys have been incredible. A free way to help your guy. We already are over 1,000 at the 34-minute mark. We are cooking with gas on this Sunday. Thank you so much for being here, guys. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube or on Twitter, wherever you're watching from, Facebook, of course, we have a handful of you guys still lingering over there. Hi, Mom, watching over there on Facebook. But if you enjoyed the show at any point, please do consider that thumbs up button, the heart button. It's a free way to help your guy. It does get us out to more people. And, of course, we'd love – I see a lot of new names there in the comments. Love you guys to join that pack and hit that subscribe button and help out your boy over here. But let's dive on into this news, and let me pull up the rankings over here. In terms of quarterback news, there is not a ton that we need to cover. The biggest is that Aiden O'Connell is expected to be good to go here for the Bucs. He was ultimately questionable with an illness, but he practiced through it. He will be good to go. This is a guy that threw for 340 yards against the Chiefs last week and now gets the Bucs, another top 5 matchup there. So he's right there at quarterback 18, a very viable streamer, certainly in 2 QB leagues. But even if you're dealing with the bye week woes, I don't hate Aiden O'Connell as well. Very cheap on DraftKings, so a lot of people pivoting to him over there in that format. The only other note was that Kirk Cousins is not at risk of being benched, which if you have to announce it out loud, means he's probably at risk of being benched. In terms of running back news, we've already adjusted the ranks for a lot of this because we got some of this news yesterday. But there are a few notes that we might have to make some minor adjustments for with running backs. We know that Breece Hall is out. So as you can check out in my running back rankings, and these are free at rotostreetjournal.com. The updated list will be out probably after the stream, just because I want to make sure I don't want to play around and move everything around while I am live here. I want to answer your questions. And so we got Braelon Allen, as you can see, running back 20. I have him just below Najee, who's cooked nearly all season. The bigger risk with him, and we've talked about this on a few super chats, Isaiah Davis could be involved. He vultured a touchdown last week, and just a talent that I really do like. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him a bit more involved than some people expect. I love Braelon Allen. The man could absorb 30 touches, 240 pounds, good speed for that size. Has really flashed when used this year. A powerful, powerful runner. So I'm a huge fan of Braelon Allen and his game. Top 20 running back is no joke. In a year where running backs have been really solid, but I'd rather play Guerrero. I'd rather play Tracy. We just talked about bumping Aaron Jones down. 5 touches last week. That sketched me out. I bumped him down pretty big here. I don't like that at all, what I've been seeing there. But yeah, so Braelon Allen, running back 19, definitely in play today, but not oh my God, lock him in. He's got to be in your lineup type of player either. But yeah, that was one news nugget. We all know that Ken Walker has been ruled out at this point as well, which was something we had talked about a couple times. 40 touches compared to 3 touches for Kenny McIntosh in his 2 starts. I might like Charbonnet. I like Pollard's matchup against the Jags. I like James Conner's matchup on the other side of that game. So I can only get him so high, but running back 14, a low-end running back 1, in my opinion. Bucky Irving, as we talked about, is expected to play. He's right up there in the top 8 running backs. The only reason he's not here in the top 5, well, 1, look at how talented that top 5 is. But 2, a little bit banged up coming into this one. Wouldn't shock me if Sean Tucker, a very talented runner in his own right, gets mixed in a little bit more. But, man, the running back 1, 3, and 6 across his last 3 games, you're rolling Bucky Irving out, and you're feeling phenomenal about doing so. I think the running back is far less tricky here than wide receiver, where we are going to see some interesting news and notes. The other big thing is Swift is expected to play. So a guy like Travis Homer, I believe I had him to the bottom of the rankings. He's down here. He said he's going to get more involvement. Like, I'll put him above like a Samaj P. Ryan, but no longer the type of stream that you can be like, oh, boom, I love it. Raheem Mostert is expected out, so I'm going to X out of him, and I'm going to bump up Jalen Wright, who now becomes, even more so than Kamani Vidal, in my opinion, an intriguing stash. And then the last running back note that I have is Alexander Madison is a long shot to play today. So Sincere McCormick, who's coming off double-digit carries, I would probably have him. It's a top 6 matchup for the guy. He's looked good. He's another one, very productive college runner. Didn't have elite athleticism or anything, so he fell undrafted, but he's been performing. And Kareem Hunt, he stinks. at this point. Isaiah Pacheco's kind of back here at 15 yards last week. I'd rather roll out Sincere. And I even, Abdullah's fine. He's going to catch some dump offs too. But I don't think he's a tier above him. And neither is Gus Edwards. Like I like Sincere McCormick today. It's just kind of what I'm getting at. My cousin's starting him against me in our 16 team family league. So he's going to have himself a monster day. The only other running back note I had here is that Kendre Miller has been activated from injured reserve. So another one, I don't know where I'd rank him. It's a Giants matchup. They're giving up the most points in the league. And Rizzy came out and said, there's no reason for him to be on the IR. We could have been playing him a couple of weeks ago. So I think he's going to come in. He's going to be fully healthy. And nobody's talking about Kendre Miller as a stash. I mean, one, you got elite handcuff upside. Alvin Kamara's had a monster workload. The schedule down the stretch looks good. And two, you just lost Taysom Hill, absorbing 17 touches, had 10 last week by the third quarter. Probably was going to have another 17. There's volume up for grabs here. And Kendre Miller, for all the injury woes, I'm not a Kendre Miller guy. He's always got a hamstring or something. The dude's in the tub all the time. He's a tub guy. But when he's played, I do like what I see. The flashes are there. I loved him at TCU. Very explosive. Guy just can't stay out of the tub. But when he's out of the tub, I think he's worth a roster spot. So I'd rather have Blake Corum. I'd rather have Ray Davis. I'd rather have any of those handcuffs, the usual suspects, the Tyler Algiers. But if you got bench trasher, let's say I'm in a league, for example, where I can't get a bye, but I'm locked into my playoff spot. Maybe I'll get to the 4 seed. Probably going to be a 5 seed. Whatever it might be. I'm not really doing anything this week, right? So I'm cutting, a kicker, and I'm picking up all these handcuffs to see, can I get myself one more massive blow up? Braelon Allen already going to be one of those guys for me here, but why not get Kendre Miller, ahead of time if something happened to Kamara, or if he runs for 100 yards on 10 carries today, something nuts. I could see it. I could see it against the Giants. So I think he's definitely one of these stashes of the day for sure. Then we move. Let me just double check. We had a couple super chats actually while I was going through that news. A very, very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Josh Montgomery, making you wait about 5 minutes here. I am so sorry for that delay. I had my news document pulled up and I did not have the comments there. So my apologies, Josh. That is so kind of you. A $10 super chat here. Very, very, very generous of you. Thank you so, so much. My apologies for making you wait while I rambled about that news here. 11-2 super flex. You have the bye locked up this week, just trying for high points. Got Levis to block, but start 2. Levis or Winston or Murray. I have L. Jackson on the bench. Thanks. So you're just going for high points. You got the bye locked up. It's not about seeding. I imagine there, Josh, there must be a payout there for the high points. So, yeah, if we're going for just upside at this point, I got to go with Jameis. I'm pulling up my quarterback rankings here to look at. Sneak preview of the Verlo quarterback sleeper of the day. But you can see here, I have Jameis as a top 10 quarterback. I'm +8 ECR on the guy. Sure, 32nd in terms of matchup rating. Is the worst matchup on paper for quarterbacks. The Broncos are like a bottom 3 matchup for quarterbacks. And what did Jameis do? Throw for nearly 500 yards in all of his starts so far. 5 starts, the man is averaging 335 pass yards per game. And then if you take out a blizzard game where it was nearly impossible to throw, and Russell Wilson had like a 3-point fantasy day. Winston somehow squeaked out 13. They're actually okay considering the conditions. Take that game out. For those other 4 games, Winston's averaging 365 fantasy points per game, yards per game. The man is slinging it. He's so fun to watch. Great locker room presence as well. But if you're going for upside, I mean, the man had 37 points against a tough Broncos defense last week, especially when it's a week 2 where it's like, if I lose, whatever. I'm not saying this is a whatever week for you, Josh. I know you want the most points. You probably get a good payout for it. But if you go for because Jameis, the reason people are low on him is it is boom or bust. He throws 2 pick sixes to start the week and then he gets benched. Well, that would blow. But ultimately, like, he's the only one of these 3. Murray too, but not Levis. Not Levis is going to be the kind of the sneaky answer here. You need points. Levis is never. There's not a world where he's getting you above 20. He hasn't done it all year. He had that one debut game last year where he had 4 touchdowns, slinging it all over the place. Gets the Jags today. Like, you'd think maybe something like that's possible. I don't buy it. He's playing better ball, but that's because he's playing more conservatively. So if you're chasing points, you're going for upside, and like the downside ultimately doesn't kill you because, hey, if you don't get the points and you lose, it doesn't really matter anyways. Like, you got to go for instance. You got to swing for the fences. So I do go Winston there. And then you go Kyler Murray. We've seen how many 30-point days out of Murray throughout his career with the leg points potentially there. Huge divisional matchup. Last time they met, it wasn't great for Murray, but ultimately, I could see him that game opens up early. Let's say Marvin Harrison has a big touchdown to lead off the game. You're getting some points there. So I like going Winston. I like going Murray. Again, Will Levis, his season high, I believe, is like 18. And yes, the matchup, it couldn't be better. I understand that. Still, though, you're chasing points. Too bad you have Lamar Jackson. What a horrible Week 14 bye, right? But I'm going Winston. I'm going Kyler. Congrats on the awesome team. 11-2, bye locked up. Great spot. You got to be feeling phenomenal about that. But, Josh, let's get you those high points. Let's get you that payout. Go for Winston. Go for Kyler. I feel a lot of people will have Levis higher than Winston this week. And again, especially in your situation where you're chasing points, I'm rolling the dice on Jameis there. Yeah, 19 is his season high, as expected. Could he do it against Jacksonville Jags today? Sure. But the other issue there is, like, can the Jags even push him? Or is this a game where they just run Pollard 30 times for 2 touchdowns too? So give me Winston, give me Murray. Josh, thank you so much again for your generosity. $10 super chat. That's very, very kind of you, and I greatly appreciate it. What's going on, CPD13? Thank you so much. Good to see you always on these Sunday shows. If I'm not mistaken, I think you told me you're coming from California as well. So early mornings for you, CPD. And you're still showing out. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you, sir, for your super chat. Rank these in PPR: Nabers, Hopkins, or more. Well, CPD13, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pull my rankings over here, and I'll just do it live for you because Nabers is the one I wanted to update on the fly. We'll cover the rest of the wide receiver notes today, but I would rank those. You've probably heard, if you've been here from the jump, CPD13. Like, I love Elijah Moore today. I don't think I love him more than Hopkins, but to me, as much as it sucks, with these, if he plays, it's a limited role type of reports here for Nabers. Takes a bad hit, gets off Gimpy. I don't think we're going to see him the rest of the day. I'm bumping him down. I don't trust him today. I put him in this tier. I'd probably rather play him than Jalen Waddle, given how not even. So, yeah, a really tough fall down the ranks here for Nabers. He might not even play, and this might not even matter. I do also wanted to – I know I've recommended Elijah Moore over Jalen Waddle a few times, and I want him to get that appropriate bump up. I also wanted to make sure Keenan Allen – we're going to get to your question, I promise, CPD13. But Elijah Moore was part of it. I do think we need Keenan Allen, though, a top 6 receiver back-to-back weeks, seeing insane volume. He was my favorite out of that question. And I remember they asked about Devontae and Garrett Wilson. I had Devontae higher in that question. So we're going to keep bumping him up. I'll put him up even above of Jerry Jeudy, right in line with DJ Moore. In fact, Keenan's taken over as the number 1 these last few weeks. And then we got Ladd questionable. So big rise up for Keenan Allen up the rankings. Have not been on him much this year. DJ Moore actually has been lights out too. So I'll keep those two right where they are. I think Jacoby Myers at Tampa Bay. That seems like a good spot to kind of cut that one off there. But yeah, so as you can see here, CPD13, I have Hopkins here, 28. Not a great matchup against the Chargers, but ultimately divisional matchup, tons on the line. This is where I think Hopkins will really get that full-time role, playoff style feel to it. What do we have going into the playoffs with DeAndre Hopkins? So he is my favorite of these. I do really like Elijah Moore today, as you can see, firmly in my starting wide receivers, my top 36 wide receivers. We've already hinted at it, but in full PPR, it's even better, actually. So let me quickly pull up those numbers in terms of, I've been only looking at half in the fact that he's had 12.5 in 3 out of 4 games that weren't blizzards. And 2 of those games included Cedric Tillman on the game plan. Last week without Cedric Tillman, 14 targets. Absolutely insane. But in full PPR, in his games with Jameis Winston, so starting with Baltimore, where Jameis's first start, 17-6. That was that dud against the Chargers for everybody. 19-5, the Blizzard game, and 19. Eli Moore's killing it right now. Full PPR CPD, I might have him actually above Hopkins because, again, I like Hopkins to get his role increased. But we know it's Judy, it's Elijah Moore. Plus, he's got the better spot, Elijah Moore, in terms of matchup based. When you do the, it's not DVOA, schedule adjusted fantasy points, and you look at like how they perform to outside versus slot wide receivers, and it's certainly a better matchup for slot receivers is what I'm getting at, where Elijah Moore spends well over half of his time. And I use fantasy points data. They are a phenomenal resource for those schedule adjusted ones. But yeah, so I do have Hopkins higher in a half PPR, but like, man, that volume, Jameis averaging, crazy numbers in terms of attempts. I think it's without the Blizzard game. I think he's averaging. I have the note right here because he's my sleeper of the day, baby. I think he is at 47.7 attempts per game. Like, that is insane volume that can sustain. And the thing is, it's not just volume; it's explosive volume, and so that can sustain Judy, that can sustain Elijah Moore, that can sustain David Njoku. All three of these guys have been having big days because they are just airing that thing out. So in a PPR where volume does matter more, I might flip Moore and Hopkins in a full PPR and actually rank these guys more than Hopkins, and then just Nabers again with that risk today of a limited role of a in-game bad hit, and he's on the sidelines. It is so sketchy. I sit here getting queasy right now, recommending multiple people to bench Eli Moore. It's like, what are you doing, Wolf? Because he's facing New Orleans without Lattimore, which has been a just absolute beautiful top 3 matchup. But I'm worried. I am absolutely worried. He might not even play, and this might just be all for naught. But I would go Moore, Hopkins, Nabers in a full PPR league. These rankings that you guys are seeing here are my half PPR rankings there. But thank you so much, CPD, for your super chat. Very generous, very kind of you, and showing up each and every week since you found us. I appreciate it. We got the Dynasty Dumpster Fire. I always love that name whenever you pop up, Dynasty Dumpster Fire. Cheers. Let me get a quick swig of coffee. Sit 1, half PPR. BTJ, Chuba, Braelon Allen, Pat Freiermuth, or Evan Ingram for my guy, Dynasty Dumpster. I'm leaning to sit Chuba here. I have Braelon Allen higher in my running back rankings. That 2-point day really sits poorly with me. Jonathan Brooks getting that workload more and more, coming off 6 carries last week. And BTJ, Matt Jones actually looked okay last week. And what if that game sneaky shoots out the Titans versus the Jags there? I love the talent with BTJ. And so, yeah, I think I'm going Braelon Allen, BTJ. Hate that Eagles defensive front. Like, if for a matchup for running backs, they are just too stifling. The Eagles in general, they stifle everything. They're just a great team. And I just see a Chuba dud on the horizon. So I'm going to go Braelon Allen, BTJ. And for the tight end question, I do lean Evan Ingram. I mean, the targets per route run numbers are ungodly for this guy. The production, we don't get fantasy points for targets per route run. And sadly, we don't play in those leagues. If target leagues, you got points for targets, like a half point per target, this man would be maybe the tight end 1. His volume is absolutely absurd. But typically, one, if it's just like a history repeating itself, last year, right around this, I think it was this exact week they were facing the Titans, and Ingram had like a 40-point day. It's one of those things where it's like you follow the volume until it finally explodes. 10, 8, 7, 9 targets. And particularly, it's half PPR. So without the scores, it's been very underwhelming. 12, 9, 7, 5, 8. But Freiermuth's he had that big game last week in a good matchup, and otherwise he's been pretty hit or miss. Darnell Washington misses in a lot. So at least Ingram's going to be on the field for every snap. At least he's going to get 8 targets. Does he fall in the end zone for one of them? Maybe. Has he crushed the Titans in the past before? Yes. So I lean Ingram. I think he's safer. If you would, Freiermuth, he's a top 12 tight end. He's right there on the fringe for me. But other than last week's 16-point day, 8 against Cleveland, but then 2, the floor is a lot lower with Freiermuth. He's had that a better ceiling day than Ingram so far this year, but that's 1. Austin Curtis with a super sticker. Thank you so much for a super sticker. That does not show us your question, sadly. I'm trying to find it, Austin. I have it like pulled up in the chat here. Where is he? I'm trying to find it, Austin, but I'm not seeing it, Mr. Curtis. So if that's just like to support your guy, thank you so much. Very kind of you. Oh, no, I see it. It's right above it. There it is. I was looking below it. It's right here. So need to BTJ, MKJ, which I see that you commented is MHJ, and Abdullah versus Sincere. I would just probably avoid the Raiders running back mess. We're talking again. I mentioned I don't mind Sincere McCormick. He's my running back 28. Like, he's okay. Looked okay with the volume. Antonio Pierce is really hyping him up. But, man, you got two explosive first-round talents in BTJ and MHJ. I love those guys. And those are the type of guys like that, you know, there are 20-point to 25-point ceilings. We've seen it from both BTJ and MHJ. No matter how good Abdullah or Sincere, they could have their best game of their career. And I don't see either any world. They might have higher floors than BTJ and MHJ because, you know, the target shares have been inconsistent, especially for Marvin Harrison. But ultimately, even if the ceiling situation hits for Abdullah or Sincere, I can't see either of them topping 12, you know? Okay volume, fine bets with Madison out today. Good matchup against Tampa Bay. But I would much rather, you know, divisional matchup, season potentially on the line for the Cardinals. Like, you got to go for your big guys. You got to go for MHJ there. And then BTJ as well. Just such a talented rookie, Austin. So this is one where I would follow the talent over the volume because there's no guarantee that it is better volume for Abdullah and Sincere. That could be an ugly committee all day. And BTJ might have 13 targets, you know. So yeah, I'm going to definitely go Austin with the two more explosive rookies there. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I'm glad I found that there. Greatly appreciate it. Josh, my man, you are just too generous here with your $5 after a $10 super chat. Brother, I greatly appreciate you and all of your support of the show. Up to 15 super chats on the day. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much, guys. Which one would you stash? Bigsby. So now we're getting into the handcuff talk, and I love this. This is where I like thrive, I feel like. And you're the one, Josh, that's already at the bye week. So you're thinking about you got that fantasy wolf mindset, baby. I love it. Where you got your bye locked up. The other thing not to just go away from your question, the other thing to be thinking through, Josh, which you probably know, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, is in addition to stashing handcuffs, which you should also be looking at defenses. And week 15, 16, 17, you got not even week 15, you got the bye locked up. So week 16 and 17. So I'm going to toss a few at you. You may already have this planned out. I'm going to answer your handcuff question first. But Josh, you've been so generous. I want that title. I need my guy to win here. And one of the biggest edges you can get this time of the year, especially when you have the bye. You have really nothing else to be playing for next week. Loading up on the right matchups for defenses could be the thing that pushes you over the edge too. You get that 20-point defense in your championship, nothing better. You might not even have defenses, so I won't go too deep onto that. But I want to give you every edge you can, Joshua, for all the support today. $15 in terms of super chats. You are so kind and generous. So of these, Bigsby, Algier, Spears, Ray Davis, McCormick, I love them all. I actually, and you can find a whole clip. I really almost cover every single one of these guys in my waiver wire show where I was talking about playoff prep and who's the best stashes. Because right now, you know, I would drop, honestly here, Josh, it depends on how good your wide receivers are, but I would be willing to part with multiple of these guys to get multiple of these running backs. If you have, 3 to 4 locked in starters and Coleman, Odunze, MVS, Thielen, none of those guys are going to actually hit your lineup. You could certainly cut multiple of them and for multiple handcuffs and defenses as well. Because I look at most of those guys, I'm like, am I ever putting any of them into my lineups? Probably not in my fantasy championship. The only one I could see is Odunze if DJ Moore was out, if Keenan got banged up. The way this new offense is kind of cooking. Should an injury happen to him, he's kind of like a wide receiver handcuff, so I probably will be hanging on to him. Any of the other three, I'd be okay dropping. So I'll rank them for you too in terms of how I would drop them. But in terms of who I would actually play, or pick up rather from this list. I would say Algier is my first priority. We know that this man can thrive. The final 4 weeks of the season in the fantasy playoffs as a rookie, this man was the running back 5 just a few seasons ago. Had 1,000 yards that year. True 3-down back, maybe the best pass protecting back. Routinely the highest graded pass protector by Pro Football Focus. And after this week, Raiders, Giants, Commanders, great schedule there for him. He averaged, when he was the starter down the stretch run that year, 16.3 fantasy points per game, had 13 or more in 4 straight games in your 2022 fantasy playoffs. The running back 5 again. Of anybody to get injured, like Bijan just seems the youngest, freshest, spryest. Like he seems good to go. So it feels like the least likely for Algier of these guys to come into value. And yet if he does, the ceiling's absolutely massive. So I would rank Algier the highest. And then I would probably, after them, I would go Ray Davis. So Ray Davis for Spears is the classic debate. And again, I have all this fresh, so I could go pretty deep on handcuffs. I won't waste everybody's time with it, but this is very valuable playoff preparation talk. But there's a clip if you want some more depth on it on the Roto Street Journal YouTube page. But Spears' playoff schedule is absurd. Gets Jacksonville today, second most points, but then you got Cincy, Indy, 7th most points, and then Jacksonville, second most points. Just beautiful. And you have the bye. So, week 16, 17, Indy, 7th most points, Jacksonville, second. If I'm you, I'm probably putting him on my roster because we've seen, again, Tajay Spears have workload days, workhorse days as a rookie last year and have monster performances. Very efficient, great pass catcher. So I do think I lean Spears a little bit over Ray Davis. Just more so, too. Ray Davis in your fantasy championships would be New England in week 16, Jets in week 17. So nothing actually that scary there. And we saw it when James Cook missed time. He ultimately had 80% of the running back carries. He had a 60-yard reception. I think he had 160 total yards on that night. It was awesome. And clearly the number 2 there for sure. So I do really like Ray Davis. Him and Tajay Spears are neck and neck. I probably have Ray Davis higher in general. But looking at your situation where you already have the bye locked up, you're really playing for week 16 and 17, who could I see actually being like a top 10 running back is Tajay Spears more likely. But those are the 3 I would be focused on. Again, because you're talking pure, stash here. I don't need a McCormick. Maybe he ends up being one of those crazy stretch run heroes, but I don't fully buy that. Josh, and then Bigsby, we've seen it. It stinks. He was fine for a few games, but Etienne there, I don't know. He intrigues me the least of these guys. So I would rank them Algier, Spears, and Ray Davis for your specific situation with Davis and Spears interchangeable. And honestly, I would drop Coleman. I would drop MVS. You could even drop potentially Adam Thielen. I really do like Thielen down the stretch. So that 10 target, 9 catch, 98-yard day against the Bucs, and he's got a phenomenal playoff schedule. I don't like him today, but I love his stretch run schedule. So I would rank them as drops. I would first drop MVS, then I would drop Coleman. I'd drop both of them, to be honest. And then Thielen versus Dunze, it gets trickier. I'd probably keep those guys. But again, this time of the year, like Algier, Spears, Davis might be more valuable. Like, do you have a kicker that you don't really love? Like, you go for the high points this week. You never mind. I don't want to encourage you to drop somebody there. But yeah, I do think those are the ones how I would rank those for you. I will mention too, again, stacking defenses. For your situation, check if the Bills are out there. The Pats and Jets at home. As beautiful as it gets for week 16 and 17 matchups. If they're gone, I know the Colts have 2 top 3 matchups in weeks 16 and 17 as well. And then the number 4 scoring defense on the year, the Chargers, are out there in a ton of leagues, and they get the Patriots in week 17. I believe it's the Broncos in week 16, so not the best of matchups there, but you could kind of pair them with somebody. The Vikings and Chargers are my favorite pairing right now, if you could pull that one off. So yeah, just in addition to stashing handcuffs, which is a great strategy this time of the year, Josh, and everybody out there, getting ahead on defenses is one of the ways you can truly make a huge difference. So I love in your situation looking at either the Bills if they're somehow still out there, and if they're not, the Chargers are out there in a ton of leagues, and they are a phenomenal week 17 play. So you just need to find that week 16 juice. But again, Algier, Spears, Davis in your specific situation, and really cut any of the receivers, but I'd most want to hang on to Thielen than a Dunze for that one. Guys are very, very generous today, so we will keep mowing through these super chats. Thank you so much, guys. 1LXV Productions, BTJ or Mooney. I'm leaning Mooney. Number one matchup for wide receivers, the Vikings, as good as they are as an overall defensive unit, they love the blitz. They love the big play on defense, and that means they surrender the big play pretty well as too. So, as a McVay disciple, Kevin O'Connell on the Viking side, but then he's been so bad this year, the Falcons offensive coordinator, that I honestly forgot his name. He was supposed to be like the next big thing. But either way, he's going to know how to attack this defense. And Mooney's been a stud. So I go Mooney there, more so because of Mac Jones. If Trevor Lawrence was good, BTJ's just too talented. But yeah, I like Mooney a little bit more there. And then in terms of the defense, for 1 week, I like the Saints. Against the Giants, how could you not, especially with Malik Nabers now banged up. 1 LXD. I'm going to pull the rankings out for now, and then I'll pull them back in as we wrap up the wide receiver news in just a second. So I do prefer the Saints in a 1 week vacuum compared to in that Bills game. There's the shootout potential, but if this is like a 1 week plus, I'm playing for the playoffs. The Bills are one of the best playoff defenses you could possibly ask for. So if you do have your eyes 1 LXV Productions ahead to the prize there, I know next week the Bills, they get the Lions. You're never going to use them then. But again, Patriots week 16, Jets week 17, phenomenal spot for your defense. So if this is more of a long-term, like I want to play this guy this week and then, use them down the stretch, Bills would be the better play there. But ultimately for 1 week, against the Rams this week, I think there could be a lot of points on the road too. Give me the Saints against the Giants. That's a smash spot for 1 week. But if you have your eyes to the prize, Bills certainly would make more sense depending on your roster size and your situation. And then Purdy or Levis, it's never Levis for me. I know Chicago, tough matchup there for Purdy, but now with no CMC, I think that team could get even more pass happy here down the stretch. And Will Levis, the ceiling's 19 points. Every other game this year has been 16 or below. I know the matchup versus the Jags is so juicy, all the talk. And rightfully so. All the fancy analysts are pointing out how good of a matchup this is. But I just keep falling back to the idea that this guy really hasn't had a ceiling difference-making game since his debut on Thursday Night Football well over a year ago. He threw 4 touchdowns that night. He threw 4 touchdowns in his remaining 8 games that year. And this year it's been pathetic so far too. So I'm going to go Purdy. I'm going to rock with him and hope they just continue to sling it out. Thank you so much for your support. 1 LXV Productions. And look at all these super chats. You guys are so kind, so generous. We're up to 20, and we're just an hour in. You guys are the best. Want to add LAC to I just talked about it. I think that's my favorite pairing, Chris. You get the with great matchups for the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, the number 1 scoring defense on the year. Then they get Green Bay in week 17. So you're absolutely right to be looking ahead here and trying to make sure you have something good for that. And LAC getting the Patriots, beautiful pairing. I love what you're thinking here. But you got to drop somebody pretty good here, which is tough. And so actually, you know what? I would say, especially if this is the same team, Fairbairn or Boswell, I would drop Fairbairn. You got the bye this week. Why not? They're very negligible. I probably even prefer Boswell anyways. But, they're both great kickers. They're both tier 1 kickers. I get the idea of wanting to keep 2, but you can't. I'd rather have 2 defenses at this point, and I would rather hold on to all of BTJ, Mooney, or Charbonnet. Now, that's a different league, and you have to cut one of those 3. You can't get by without doing it, and you can't cut Fairbairn. So Fairbairn would be my first cut. This is the same team. No 2 kickers. But if you have to drop one of those 3, I think I lean Mooney. I don't know. Charbonnet, we're going to see today how valuable this guy is. 24 and 15 points as a starter, 40 of the 43 total touches. The guy's a beast. The guy is an absolute beast. And then you look at BTJ, just a blossoming young rookie. They're only going to continue to kind of grow this guy's role during the stretch here. Mooney's been great, so I really don't want to cut him. But yeah, of this list, I would go I would go Charbonnet first. I'd keep then BTJ, and I would cut Mooney if I had to cut one of those three. But I also encourage you to cut Fairbairn and just keep Boswell and ride that leg the rest of the year. You got AJ, Nico, T, D. Henry, J. Cook, and Bucky. Sheesh. You got yourself a squad. There's not a world where either Mooney or BTJ is probably entering your lineup anyways. So, yeah, Mooney would be the cut. And running back is just more, I guess not this year. I was going to say more apt to injury. But I think that running back is probably more important. And plus this week, you probably start in Cook and Bucky and Charbonnet. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would cut Fairbairn if you can, Chris. But if that's a different situation, then Mooney's the one I would cut there. James, what's going on? James O'Hara, legend of the program here. Given Mo is an RSJ legend over here. Mo doesn't like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Your thoughts, Wolf? Great question, James. He's definitely going to be a polarizing pick this week. There's lots to love and there's lots to question here. And as Mo, your son always does, he's great at looking at the data and finding what the holes are. And so to point those out, and probably what his whole argument is like, I believe it's 38 targets on the entire season. The volume is very, very sketchy. He's got just 20 catches on the year and 8 touchdowns. You know, that seems like a ridiculous, unsustainable pace. How could you trust this ever? 94th in targets, 96th in receptions. Volume is king, and how could you ever trust this guy? And yet, he's got 8 touchdowns on 20 catches. He's scored, 9 touchdowns in his last 8 games. He scored a touchdown in all but one game since week 6. It just keeps happening. He's 4th in the NFL right now in receiving touchdowns. And you see that, you're like, man, like a streak like that, it feels sketchy. It feels fluky. How do we trust this? Again, 10 touchdowns on 23 catches on the season. But then I look, and these last 3 games, and this is where I would, I don't know if Mo's watching with you right now. In particular, these last 3 weeks, well, 2 of them have been top 10 games. All 3 have been in the top 24. And he's also in these 3 games out-targeted Calvin Ridley. So it has been a weird, fluky, like, how do we trust this situation? I get it. Like, when you look at the whole scope of the season, like, what is going on? How is this dude doing what he's doing? But really lately, the volume, it's like he's actually getting that role increase because he keeps continuing to perform and out-targeting Calvin Ridley. It's only by like 1 target. I think it's like 17 versus 16 targets these last 3 weeks. But first read targets have also been there. I believe 12 of those have been first read looks as well. And then you look at the play. Well, one today, you got Jacksonville, second most points in the league to wide receivers. I like him this week. I think he's a great play given that. And then you got Cincy, Indy, and then the Jags again. A phenomenal playoff schedule moving forward. So I get it. I get the warts with the volume debate there. But ultimately, I've seen a lot more in terms of the volume these last few games. And he just keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it. And I think I like him. I do think he's a phenomenal, at least stash, if not this week, especially against the Jags. You can get him in your lineup. I like him, James. I'm going against your blood over there, and I am going happy to play Nick Westbrook-Ikhine this week. Thank you so much for the support, James. As well. I appreciate that super chat very much. And Chris, with your second super chat today, thank you so much. We're up to 25 super chats. You guys are ridiculous. So generous, so kind of you to be doing so. I have Nick, Goff, and Williams pick 2 to keep rest of season. Oh, man. I would say, Chris, if Williams is Caleb Williams, I'm getting rid of him. I know since the offensive coordinator change, the man's been lighting it up. And Thomas Brown has really simplified things, getting the ball out quicker. If your first 2 reads aren't there, don't just sit there and take hits and flounder around in the pocket. Get rid of that thing and go. And it's been 27 and 26 fantasy points. Quarterback 4 and 5, all looks great. But Minnesota, not a good matchup next week. Detroit, generous to wide receivers, but not a great matchup for quarterbacks. Bottom 7, actually. There, I just don't see myself ever using him. And as soon as you trust him, as soon as you think it's getting good, like, you're getting right back to a 9-point thud. Like, he had this stretch where we had like 24, then 30, and then 10, 9, and 6. Of those 3, the one I trust the least is Caleb Williams. And so that is who I would be cutting Chris. Thank you for the double super chat today, brother. I really appreciate it. Mountain Man, what's going on? Thank you so much for your generosity here, Mountain Man. I really appreciate it. Need help in a couple leagues. PPR, pick 2. Aaron Jones, Guerrero, Irving. Got to be Bucky Irving. That's the no-brainer. You have to go Bucky today. Running back 1, 3, and 6 across the last 3 games. 25 carries last week. A Raiders team that's pathetic. I know he's been banged up this week, but I'm not putting Bucky on any benches. I promise you that. And then Guerrero versus Aaron Jones. I see 5 carries for Aaron Jones last week, and that makes me sketchy. That makes me nervous. I'm going Guerrero. We've seen Kyle Shanahan make monsters of whoever his starting running back is. It doesn't matter. The zone blocking scheme is gorgeous. It opens up these lanes. And then now we got a guy with 4.3 speed at 220 that can zip through those lanes and get to the next level. Guerrero's got a humongous ceiling. And there's really Patrick Taylor. As long as Guerrero's thriving, stays healthy, I think he's going to be getting 20 to 30 touches. He's going to be doing at minimum what Jordan Mason did, which was high-end running back 2 to low-end running back 1 each and every week. And then you got the fact that this guy's a much better athlete, that he's commanded 14% targets per route run compared to 9% for Jordan Mason there. So that was a higher receiving ceiling. There's just a higher explosive athlete ceiling. I like Guerrero quite a lot. And so with the sketchy usage for Aaron Jones, I know it was a lot of it was fumble related, but then we got banged up injuries popping in and out. I'm mentioning Jones there. And I'm going Irving and I'm going Guerrero. In terms of the wide receivers, Lamb, Metcalf, Ridley, I got to go Lamb against the Bengals there. Great matchup for wide receivers. Plus you have that kind of just like Chase versus Lamb. Who's the best receiver in the league? You know how those guys love to go back and forth and show the other one up. I have a feeling we're for one of those Monday night games where it's like there's a Chase touchdown, there's a Lamb touchdown, and they're just going back and forth. Great matchup for Ridley. He's pretty close to Lamb in my rankings, but yeah, I'm going to go Lamb there. And then Cup, JSN, or Metcalf. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, Mountain Man, again, for your support. You guys are so generous and so kind. It comes down to Cup versus JSN for me. Metcalf's not part of the question. I know he's off the injury report. He's cleared. Man, we've seen some huge games against the Cardinals in his past. But I think I'm leaning Cooper Kupp. I love JSN. He has really been cooking, especially in a full PPR league these last few weeks. But just 4 targets last week. Did get bailed out by a touchdown. 37, 22, 20, and 12 since his role really got elevated, though. I mean, that is some impressive stuff there from JSN. I still have a hard time sending Kupp to the bench in a Buffalo game. Yeah, sure, the matchup's not great. But he also, 21, 16, 15, 29, 20. He had that 5-point dud last week. Otherwise has been locked in top 20 receiver for you. So I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. I'm locking him in. I think that's going to be a fun game, shootout game. And I go him just very slightly over JSN Mountain Man. Thank you so much. Katie Jagier, thank you so much for the support here of the Roto Street Journal. Must win full PPR, need flex and wide receiver. Thomas Jr., Jennings, Shakir, Pollard, Tracy, Guerrero. So we need a flex and a wide receiver. So for the wide receivers, Thomas versus Jennings versus Shakir. Your flex is going to be a running back. So we're only going to go one receiver here. Tough matchup for really all these guys. Not the best of matchups. Must win too, Keen. This is the season on the line. This is a very tough one. My gut's telling me Khalil Shakir, especially in a full PPR where he's just like the clear-cut guy for Josh Allen, 10, 7, 9, 12, 7 targets these last few weeks. Last week was a snowy blizzard game, and so he didn't get much. But other than that, 14, 20, 11, 12, 15, right ahead of that. He's been rock solid, especially in full PPR leagues. The Rams, middle-of-the-road matchup, they've been better against slot receivers, so it's not great for Shakir in that sense. But Chicago's been a brutal matchup for receivers and Jennings, so that makes me a little nervous. I love BTJ as well, though. Man, but Mac Jones at quarterback, he got it done last week. 10 targets, 4 catches, 76 and a touchdown. So the receiver does come down to Thomas or Shakir. Thomas certainly is the ceiling play, 19 points last week, but far more likely to just dud on you. And so Keen, again, not to do the non-answer thing, if you're a 20-point underdog, you had Jaden Reed in there. Now you got no points and you're screwed. And you need upside. That is Brian Thomas. He's got a higher ceiling than Shakir. When Thomas beats Shakir, he beats him probably by like a good 6 to 10 points. But he's also much more likely to just get like 3 out of nowhere, 6. He's had more duds on the season than Shakir. So it's as tough as it is. I do think in a full PPR, I'm going Shakir. Very, very close. Very tough call, Keen. But he has just been so rock solid all year. Josh Allen's number 1. That's so tough. But I'm going to go Shakir. The more it rolls off the tongue, I'm like, I don't know. The more I say it. For the running back question, I love all 3 of these guys this week. You already heard the Guerendo rant in the question before in terms of getting all the workload, explosive athlete in the zone scheme. Lots of love there. But I think I like Pollard the most of these running backs. The Jags matchup is beautiful. Second most points allowed to running backs. Spears, of course, being active is annoying. We saw Pollard go from 24 carries to 8 carries. That stinks. But the game got away from them last week. And in more of a pass catching situations, that is, of course, more where Spears does his damage. I think this is a week where the Jags could get up, or the Titans rather, get up on the Jags and pound them. And so I could see a 15 to 20 carry day in a great matchup for Pollard, who really has been just great all year for the most part. So yeah, I'm going to go with Pollard in that one. Love all 3 of these running backs. It's so tough, Keen, to pick one of those 3. I wish you could start 2 of them. So your team must be pretty dang good at running back there if you only could choose 2 of these guys, or one of these guys rather. But I'm going to go Shakir. And I'm going to go Pollard. I think they both have the highest floors with similar ceilings to the other guys around them, Katie. We've got, we're up to 28 super chats. Guys, you're so generous here. Levi, each and every week, I see you double super chatted here. So generous of you. Thank you so much, Levi, for your support, and all of you guys. 28 super chats, and we're not even at the hour and a half mark yet. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Hello, Levi. 49ers D or drop to start the Bills. Also, Bucks D or 49ers D. Been rolling with Stafford all season. Just added Winston. Which QB do I start? Levi with a loaded question here. So for the defensive situation, this is similar to another one I got asked involving the Bills D, where I think it was the Saints versus Bills. And I preferred the Saints in that week matchup against the Giants. I mean, beautiful spot. But then you also want to think about the playoffs and how good the Bills' playoff schedule is. Patriots in week 16, Jets at home in week 17. Both those are home games. Week 15 against the Lions does suck, but ultimately a beautiful spot for week 16 and 17. So keeping the Bills is where I lean in these situations if you got your eyes ahead to the playoffs. And I think anyways this week, San Fran against Chicago is a good matchup. I do have them higher than the Bills for a 1 week situation, but I mean, -2, -4, 7-3. I don't know. They've been pretty bad lately. And the Bears have been cooking with Thomas More at the helm, and now he's the head coach. I kind of like just going the Bills here. And I'm going to make sure to adjust my rankings to show that because you have the playoff benefit, but also that the Bucks versus Niners. I'd probably go Bucks with the Raiders matchup as well. Neither team has been playing particularly good defense. But I'd rather face the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell than the way the Bears are cooking right now. So Levi, for the defenses, I'm just going against the 49ers for both of these ones. Home against Chicago, maybe they get it together, but they've been bad. And it's a lot of injuries, too. It's they've lost a lot of their studs. So I roll that. In terms of the quarterback question, the safe play is Stafford. He's been the guy you've had all year. You're rolling with him. I get it. You don't want to shake up the fantasy locker room, but if there's anyone to shake up the locker room for, I love Jameis Winston. We've already hit on him quite a few times, and we're going to repeat him again in the Verlo Sleeper segment, our sponsor over there. I love Jameis Winston. 335 yards per start so far this year. If you take out the Blizzard game, 365 yards, 47.7 pass attempts. The volume has been crucial. King, and he is slinging it all over there. And it's like, okay, yeah, this week is a bad matchup against the Steelers, no doubt. Could they pick him off? Could force him to the bench, the low floor? It does exist. And that's why it's like, okay, if you're, a favorite or a pretty close matchup, I like Stafford today. It's a tough matchup versus the Bills, but he's never getting benched, and that is always going to be a risk with Winston. But the ceiling and who I have higher is Jameis. I'd be surprised if they bench him at this point. And we just saw him throw for nearly 500 yards in a very tough matchup against the Broncos, too. They're just as good of a secondary as the Steelers. So I like Winston. I'm firing him up today. It scares me, but Stafford's in a bad matchup, too, and I just think the ceiling is a lot higher with Jameis this year. And then you also asked Levi, start 3. Mike Evans, Kupp, London, Brian Thomas Jr., Kittle. Win, and I'm in the playoffs. Let's go, baby. We need this W. I got to go Mike Evans and Kupp. They in London. The first 3 you typed in are the best 3 options here. London, best matchup for wide receivers. Can't turn that one down. He's been cooking too. Mike Evans, welcome back last week. Whew, what a monster day. I believe he's the highest scoring wide receiver in fantasy last week. Now gets a Raiders matchup, which is nothing scary about that. Wide receiver 3 last week, 26 points. And yeah, Kupp. I know the 5-point dud last week. Sketchy, scary, but they just didn't need to throw. And against the Bills, they're going to need to throw. And I guess if this is the same league too, and you're starting Kupp, maybe you do just keep it nice and safe and simple, and you go with Stafford. I have those 2 neck and neck, Stafford and Winston, and Stafford certainly is safer, and especially if it's creating that stack for you, Levi, as well. I just rolled those 3 receivers. I mean, I love Kittle. Don't get me wrong, I love Brian Thomas, but he's a definitely tier or 2 below all the guys you mentioned here. Not in terms of talent, but just in terms of situation. So as good as Kittle is it's just that against the Bears with so many mouths all around there, even with CMC removed, I think you can really bank on Evans, Kupp, London. You're getting 10 targets from all those guys. And in a full PPR, I'm chasing that volume. They're all so talented as well. Man, what a receiver core you have, though, Levi. So I'm going to go with Evans, Kupp, and London there. Mike Kuchar, thank you so much for your support, Mike. And Levi, double super chatting again. And I think you super chat us every single week. You're a legend. So generous, so kind of you. Michael Kuchar saying Winston or Williams, Allen, Tracy Moore, 1 running back, and 1 flex. You guys keep hearing it, and I just gave the speech on Winston, so I don't need to regurgitate the stats. I'm super high on Jameis. Could kill me. But hey, I just am rolling those dice. The only time he's really dudded out was in that complete and utter disaster of a snow game. Sure, against the Chargers, he didn't have a great game either, but he is just cooking right now. The way he played against the Broncos defense, I feel like he's borderline matchup proof. Williams, too, again, quarterback 4 and 5 these last few weeks. I get it. He's certainly safer, Michael. I don't believe in Caleb. I'm not a Caleb guy, and I am a full Winston guy to my core. So I go Winston. I know it's riskier. I know most of the ECR will disagree with me. But I go Winston. Myself, Allen, Tracy, Moore, running back, 1 flex. So I'm guessing that's DJ Moore. Could be Elijah Moore, though, Michael. So, we no longer can just say Moore because Elijah Moore is a legit option this week. But I would think, regardless of who the Moore is, DJ Moore does make it close. Just, again, these last few weeks since Thomas Moore, all the Moores in the world we're going to cover today. But since Thomas Moore took over, DJ Moore has 14, 27, and 24 fantasy points. Lights out. So, especially in a full PPR league, yeah, I'd probably go DJ Moore at the flex, and I'm going Tracy over Braelon Allen. If it's Elijah Moore, though, I would go both of the running backs. We've talked about Braelon Allen a few times, but just to reiterate, monster size, good speed for the size, fully capable of absorbing 30 touches. It's just a matter of do they actually mix in Isaiah Davis, another prospect I really like. I bet he vultured the touchdown last week. The line sucks. Aaron Rodgers sucks. So it's not as juicy of a situation as we probably all expected when we were drafting him as the handcuff or picking him up as the handcuff midseason. Whereas Tracy, if Allen does what Tracy's just been doing since he became the starter, and Tracy also getting New Orleans, a great matchup too. Miami's a good spot for Allen as well, but I do still have slight hesitation with the workload. I'd love to see maybe this week he comes out, gets 25 touches, 2 touchdowns, boom, like monster. Start him any week Breece is out, but I do have some concerns about the involvement of Isaiah Davis. So I'm leaning Tracy, and I'm leaning, if that's DJ Moore as your flex. But if not, I would go both of the running backs. Great options, Michael. Thank you so much for your support. We got Levi. Oh, yeah, we just answered. We already answered that for you, Levi, as well. Luis Perez, your second super chat as well. Thank you so much for your kind support. Good, sir. Chargers, Buffalo, Miami, Jacksonville. I know Miami. I mean, I'd rather Jacksonville. It's a matchup question. They get the Titans. Best matchup for fantasy defenses. Still not touching, still not sniffing the Jags ever. Maybe they get it done today. Maybe the Titans are that bad. But 30th in defensive scoring on the year. Not touching them. No thanks. They have the juiciest playoff schedule, and I can't do it. I love the Chargers. I love Buffalo. I don't trust Miami, but the Jets team does stink. I lean Charger. So I think this is another one again where we keep bringing it up. Like the Bills defense is such a good one to have for the fantasy playoffs right now. And them and the Chargers are neck and neck for me. You know, number 5 in defensive scoring, the Bills. Number 9 in defensive scoring, the Chargers in points per game. So I'm going to go to the Bills here. Stafford and co scare me, but they could still, give a bunch. And then again, you have that benefit of a great playoff schedule moving forward. The Chargers have a tough playoff schedule until week 17, where they are a great option. But for this week, Lewis, I'm going to go Buffalo Bills. Riley saying the questions at the top of the comments in the future, and I don't want to criticize somebody who's willing to super chat us and give us that support, which is so kind and so generous of you, Riley. But if you didn't mind just like copy and pasting or retyping the question, it's at the top of the comments, and we have about like 200 to sift through and scroll through. And I see, like he usually does like 5 a.m., 3, I'm seeing a lot of like that and not an actual question, Riley. So please, in the future, just repeat your question, brother. But thank you again so much for the support. I'm guessing this is the question right here, Riley. Since Walker's out, my options are slim. Do I start Gus, McCormick, Miller, or Homer? I'm going to go with McCormick here. Again, he's been the most featured on the ground running back for the Raiders. Good matchup against the Bucs, a top 7 spot for running backs. And then you have this week Antonio Pierce, who's been pretty transparent. Say 12 carries last week. We hope to get that number up this week. I'm guessing we get that number up this week, and it's a great matchup. So I like Sincere. 64 yards on 12 carries, well over 5 a pop last week. Abdullah Shore is going to siphon the receiving work. But I look at Gus, horrible matchup, horrible efficiency. No thanks. Look at Homer with Swift now playing, very thin bet. And then Miller, I actually am very intrigued by Kendre Miller. The Giants matchup, no limitations, all gas, no brakes was the quote. Great spot for him. But also first carry, hamstring, guys getting carted off again. That's a very real possibility. So I'm going to go with McCormick in a good spot against the Bucs here and lean with that one. Thank you so much again, Riley, for the super chat there. So generous of you. And we got more to clean up because you guys are incredible. So generous today. And we left off with Frosty. Good morning. Half tight end or half PPR. Tight end Hawkinson or Njoku. I'm leaning Njoku with Jameis, not in a blizzard, in which case he also should have had a touchdown too. Drop one goes right through his hands. But Pittsburgh, is that a great spot? Not really, but I mean, I see. If I ask you, Frosty, how many targets did Njoku have last week? 17. Seriously, I was gonna try to build it up. 17 freaking targets for a tight end. It doesn't get much better than that. 9 catches, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns, 26 fantasy points. The tight end 2 for the week. Now you got Josh Oliver coming back, which I don't think will matter all that much for Hawkinson. But you're not getting 17 targets when you got Addison and Jefferson. I like the matchup for Hawkinson. I actually originally had him higher. But man, I saw that 17 target number for Njoku. I got to go with that one. Senor Rojo sent a super sticker. Again, that doesn't have the question, so I don't know where that is or what it is. Let me just see if I can quickly Control F, Senor Rojo, not popping up. I'm really sorry, Senor Rojo. We don't have our moderator here today as a Christmas party, but like I can't find this one right now. And it didn't come in. So I greatly appreciate your super chat. It's very kind of you. I'm just scanning as fast as I can. We have a lot of questions. I'm going to go to rapid fire mode after we do our sleeper segment as well. But Senor Rojo, I am not, I'm trying to search it. I'm not seeing it. Maybe you're just sending some love for us, and I greatly appreciate that, Senor Rojo. Sorry, buddy. We have so many questions. I can't ultimately find this one. Yeah, I did another fast scan, and I'm not seeing it, Rojo. I'm sorry about that, buddy. Tunes, I don't know if you're free. If you're free, jump into the mod share and see if you can help me find that one. But yeah, I don't see that one at all. So very sorry about that, Senor Rojo. Maybe you're just showing some love as well, which is totally greatly appreciated. But would love to help you out. So I'll be on the lookout for it. But yeah, tough. The super sticker thing, I don't really understand. We got Giuseppe Caruso. Thank you so much, Giuseppe, with a $5 super chat. Westbrook-Ikhine or Abdullah, half PPR. I'm leaning Westbrook-Ikhine. I know James O'Hara asked about him earlier, and you might have heard that rant already, but 8 touchdowns since week 6. 4th in the league in receiving touchdowns, has a touchdown every game but one. Like, he is hot right now. And ultimately, I'm going to ride that train, especially because the volume the last few weeks, I know it's got you 96th in targets in the league, but the last few weeks, 17 targets compared to 16 for Calvin Ridley, 12 first read targets. The guy has been actually getting schemed more. It's not just been broken plays and blind luck here. So yeah, against the Jags, I'm going to go with that upside and keep going for NWI, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Disley or Ferguson? We had that one earlier, Giuseppe, and I went Ferg. I love the matchup against Cincy. I love that Cooper Rush is looking better and better by the week. Definitely been Pepper and Schoonmaker. So I think Ferguson stands to get some volume as well. And then go Lad and risk it, or go with Debo. I'd probably play it safe unless we get any positive, encouraging news. If we do, Lad is 100% worth it to go for. But if we don't get any new news, I probably roll with Debo, because your backup plans, you're looking at like Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert. I don't love that. And Debo with a more backfield role with no CMC, I think is solid. And then Russ or Geno. I like Russ. I like that matchup. Cleveland giving up humongous plays. Look no further than Marvin Mims last week. So I'm high on Russ. I think that game opens up and shoots out today. As ugly as it looks on paper, I think it's actually a fun one for fantasy. And then I'm going Buffalo D for all the reasons we keep mentioning. A fine play this week, but you got a great playoff schedule moving forward as well. Steven Youngberg, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys, we're up to 30 on the day. So generous of you. So greatly appreciated, everybody. Start one flex, one MHJ. I'm guessing it's to start one flex, one receiver situation. But I'll just kind of go through them and let you know how I play. MHJ, Jennings, Tyreek, or Westbrook. I go Tyreek 10 out of 10 times there. The next man up for me would be MHJ, then Jennings, then Westbrook, who I do like, who we talked about a lot. But yeah, I would go Tyreek, then MHJ, then Jennings, then Westbrook. I'm going Otten over Ingram today. And if Bucky's out, which he's not, Bucky's expected to play today, so we don't really need to worry about that one. I would have Braelon Allen above Aaron Jones, Steven. But Bucky's playing, and you're locking in the running back 1, 3, and 6 the past 3 weeks. Otten versus Ingram is tough. You got good volume for Ingram. He historically does bash the Titans. So I keep going back and forth on that one. Otten's in a great spot, though, against the Raiders, a top 5 matchup. 4 tight ends there as well. He hasn't been great, though, since Mike Evans returned to the lineup, and 9, 4, and 6, actually, these last 4 weeks. You know what? I'm going to switch that up. I'm definitely going to go Evan Ingram. The volume, Otten seems to be barreling out. Meanwhile, we got 10, 8, 7, 9 targets for Ingram. I believe he's number 1 or 2 in tight end targets since coming back from his injury. And the production hasn't been amazing, 14, 12, 10, 8, 11, but all of those weeks have been better than anything Cade Otton's done since Mike Evans came back. So give me Ingram, give me Tyreek, and if you had to pick one more of them, I would say MHJ is my next favorite option, Steven Youngberg. Thank you so much. So generous. I hate thinking this, but would you bench Hurts? He'll likely use his running back, and I can see them sitting out later in the game. I could grab Jameis, says Jesse J. Thank you so much, Jesse J, for your support. So your mindset isn't crazy by any stretch of the imagination. The Panthers give up the most points to running backs. They get run all over, steamrolled. And so, could it just be a day where we feed Saquon, try to get him the MVP? He goes for 250, 3 touchdowns, goes bananas, and Hurts just doesn't have much left. And maybe they bench him because they're up by 30. Yeah, there's that risk, Jesse, and you're wise to be thinking of it. That being said, to actually act upon it is another thing. And if you really have that gut feeling, I always say to everybody, trust your gut. At the end of the day, you have to trust it. But I would not in any world sit Jalen Hurts for Jameis. As good as Jameis has been, as much as I keep hyping him up, love Jameis this week. The running upside is also for Jalen Hurts. He's a mobile quarterback himself, clearly. That's why we all love him in fantasy. So sure, could it be Saquon just going completely nuts? Absolutely. But could Jalen Hurts have a 3-touchdown rushing day? Absolutely, as well. And so I can't bench him against Carolina, a bad defense where they should just be piling on points after points. Even if Saquon feasts, Hurts can still get his. Your logic is very sound, Jesse. It all makes sense. And yet I still sit here and there's no way I'm benching Jalen Hurts against Carolina. He himself could run and go completely wild too. And then the last super chat. Oh no, we got a couple super chats. It's Rashik Barron with back-to-backs. I imagine this is the same question. So Nick Westbrook-Akini, Shakir, or Thielen, wide receiver 2 spot advice today. So I'm benching Thielen, no doubt about it. Love Thielen. Again, the 10 targets, 9 catches, 25% target share. All the stats from last year in terms of weeks 2 to 6, the number 1 receiver in fantasy. Looks like that guy looks spry, looks healthy. Great out of the slot. Terrible matchup out of the slot today against Cooper DeJong. So I am fading Thielen today. Love rostering him. I think he could be a stretch run hero. I'm very worried about playing him. It's a tough Eagles secondary today. And I'm going to go back to yours real quick, Jesse. The other thing, too, is the Panthers stink, but they've been playing much better ball on offense in general lately. And so I do think there's a less of a risk of this game becoming a complete blowout. Could it be? Absolutely. But I do think the Panthers can keep it close, in which case they have to keep Hurts going. And I was just thinking that with Thielen. Like, I do think this team can, fight at least. They're definitely a little more feisty than they have been. I like Shakir here, though. Nick Westbrook-Akini, again, we talked about him at great length and for good reason this morning. All the touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 20 catches. Very sketchy, right? That seems like a very unsustainable rate. But then the volume has been trending right. 2 top 10 weeks in his last two of the last 3 games have been top 10. All 3 of them have been top 24. So he's trending the right way. He does have a higher ceiling even than Shakir. But Shakir has just been rock solid, lights out, week in and week out, the number 1 for Josh Allen. I think this is a game that's very fun. That environment should require them to be throwing. So I'm leading Shakir, Rashik Barron, just safer, steadier. As great as the Westbrook-Akini story and streaming has been, there's no world where I really see Shakir disappearing. If NWI had 1 catch for 18 yards, that wouldn't surprise any of us either. So I'm going to lean with Nick Westbrook-Akini there. I'd rather Shakir over Nick Westbrook-Akini, and I'd be holding out on Thielen as well. 2 more super chats, up to 33 on the day. Keeping it real with credit, asking, start Chuba Hubbard or Nick Westbrook in the flex. Now we're getting tricky. And now we get full PPR too. And again, Chuba Hubbard, 2-point day last week. Brooks getting more and more involved. I think this is one of those look what he's really done all year, though. He's been great, but we really want to jump off that ship before it burns us twice in a row. And I actually go Nick Westbrook-Akini here, keeping it real with credit. I'm nervous for Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to update my rankings, and I'm going to pull him in and do it live in a sec. But I am down on Chuba. I'm worried about the matchup. Great defensive front there. Worried about Jonathan Brooks' involvement. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the hot streak there of NWI and ride it out. And Sanders, thank you so much for your generous super chat. Your kind manager. Thank you, man. Have an amazing game day. I hope you have an amazing game day, too. And I hope you get there with getting these right for you. Let's check it out. Jones, Tracy, Gorendo, Dowdle, Chubb, Allen, Pacheco. Whew. Sanders, you have a loaded running back room. We got full PPR scoring. Let's sift through these. My highest ranked guy is Tyrone Tracy. Love the New Orleans matchup. Love it with Nabers out, not out, but if he plays, he's going to be limited. So I think Tracy's the centerpiece of this game plan in a phenomenal matchup. So give me Tracy. We talked about Guerendo a lot. I think he's my second favorite here. Huge upside, 4.3 speed, 220 monster in a scheme that has made nobody's be fantasy beasts. So I think he, looking at 20-ish touches, was the running back 11, 19 points in his only other game with 60% plus of these snaps. So I love Guerendo today. I think he feasts. I think Tracy feasts. It comes down to, for the last ones, I mean, these are all in the same kind of boat. I will say I'm crossing off Chubb. Just doesn't look good. They talked about wanting more explosiveness in their backfield, and Ford actually played more snaps last week. Don't trust Chubb this week myself. Pacheco, him and Hunt seem to be in that split right now, and we've seen the Chiefs do this where they'll play it safe with Pacheco the rest of the year, and then they unleash him in the playoffs. That's kind of the read I'm getting there. Sanders. So I crossed those two out, and then so at least okay, we limited it to 5. My favorites are Tracy, Guerendo, and then between Dowdle, Allen, and Aaron Jones, flip a coin. I'd say Jones I'll chop off with the 5 carries last week, the lowest of the floors here. Just haven't been getting those Aaron Jones booms, good volume all year, but hasn't fully erupted, and especially not lately. Dowdle versus Allen is tough. I'm going to lean Dowdle, though. Clear feature back last week. Good matchup against Cincy. Cooper Rush looking better, so the overall floor of this entire offense is better. I like Dowdle there for sure. So I'm going to go Tracy, Guerendo, Dowdle. Thank you again so much. I mean, guys, you've been so generous. That is the 33rd super chat of the day, and we're already an hour and 46 minutes in. Absolutely insane here. So we haven't even wrapped up our week 14 wide receiver news because of how generous you guys have been. So what we're going to do is I'm going to wrap up the news real quick. We have our sponsor that we have to hit, our sleeper segment for the Verlo mattresses out there. I'm going to go a little bit longer today because you guys have been awesome. You've been so generous with your super chats, and I do want to make sure to hit as many questions as we can. So let me hit the week 14 news at wide receiver tight end. I will then do our sleeper segment for our presenting sponsor, Verlo, the best mattresses in the game. And then we will do a rapid fire for about 20 minutes. So if we go an extra 20, 30 minutes today, hey, we're getting to the end of the year, baby. And I love this shit. I can't get off too early. My apologies for the language. If you're watching there, my nephew, sorry. For sure. But let's quickly wrap up the wide receiver news. And as again, I've been bringing in my rankings to just the biggest news was Malik Nabers probably going to play, but also if he plays, is probably going to be limited. He's pushing and will warm up to see if it's possible after not practicing late in the week. I'm avoiding it. We got a bunch of super chats and a bunch of questions about Malik Nabers. And as scary as it is benching a guy that has 10, 13, 11, averaging double-digit targets on the year, super talented, great matchup too. Everything says this is a Malik Nabers blow-up day, except the fact that he's hurt and at risk of either not playing or if he plays being in a very limited role, then he takes a bad hit. He limps off to the sideline. And so as you can see here, I've dropped him a whopping 21 spots. I'd rather play Elijah Moore and play it safe. I'd rather play, and that's a guy that's out there in 80% of leagues right now. So maybe even Darius Slayton, who I actually should bump up with Malik Nabers so banged up. So I'm going to bump up Slayton. I'd rather have him than Trey Tucker, Josh Palmer, Michael Wilson. I'm going to be bumping up Wan'Dale Robinson, who you probably see down there in a sec. I'd probably play Slayton right in that Parker Washington territory there. And then Wan'Dale, I'm going to put even above them, and PPR beast. I'm telling you, I'd probably even play NWI, Nick Westbrook-Akini, over Nabers today. So that's the biggest of the wide receiver news and notes is Malik Nabers. The other ones we had, Tyreek's off the injury report, good to go. I'm firing him up against a Sauce Gardner-less Jets secondary. We have T. Higgins looking forward to keeping his hamstrings healthier in the offseason, but man, has that guy been an absolute animal. Mike Evans is off the injury report. You're starting him. The big one also was DJ Moore was questionable, but he is now expected to play. 24 and 27 PPR points in the last 2 weeks, has really thrived, hasn't seen less than 7 targets since Thomas Moore, now the interim head coach, took over. So yeah, he's been absolutely cooking with gas so far. He's right there in my top 17 wide receivers. DJ Moore, wide receiver 16, right by Keenan Allen, who got a big bump in my rankings the more and more I dove into the fact this guy's been even more productive than DJ Moore these last couple of weeks. Last notes are Ladd McConkey is a game time decision. Very tough spot because they do play tonight. You do have some backup plans for Monday Night Football, like Brandon Cooks, like Jalen Tolbert. I do prefer Brandon Cooks there. So it's not like you have nothing. Maybe you could pick up Josh Palmer. I'd rather have over either of those guys should Ladd McConkey sit. But it is a sketchy situation. Ideally, you can put him in the flex. Maybe you could even pick up a Will Dissly type of situation to give yourself some options. Is he worth waiting out for? I mean, the dude had 9 catches and 117 yards in the first half last week. He's a beast. So, yeah, he probably is worth waiting it out for, depending on your other options. We have Jacoby Myers playing this week. Great spot against the Bucs. Cedric Tillman is out, which is why we've been hyping up Eli Moore today. We're going to talk about him in just a second. And then Devonta Smith is going to be playing. He's a fringe top 30 wide receiver. Great spot against the Panthers. Will they need him is the bigger question. Well, maybe, because Dallas Goedert is headed to the injured reserve. And so they took it slow with Devonta Smith too. I do expect him to be solid. Jake Ferguson is practicing in full. He's going to be playing on Monday in a beautiful spot against the Bengals. I've seen him get dropped in a ton of leagues. Easy top 12 tight end for me this week. I do actually want to double check where I have Fergie, because that's a second best matchup for tight ends. They've been bleeding points, and Cooper Rush looks better and better by the week. He's been giving Schoonmaker a lot of love. So I have him I'm going to put him above Kate Otten. I think Ingram's where I draw the line, but yeah, top 10 tight end here for Jake Ferguson. And then Dawson Knox gets a bump out with Dalton Kincaid out. But I do prefer Juwan Johnson, for example. And we're going to talk about why in just a second. So there are your tight end ranks. In terms of just defensive news, we talked about Sauce Gardner is already going to be out. The only other note I did have is that Will Reichard for kicker is activated off the injured reserve. They sent John Parker Romo off. The Vikings kicker, whoever it's been, is averaging over 12 fantasy points per game on the season. And so I'm scooping Reichard, where I have kicker issues like Kami Firebairn on bye, whatever it might be. I love going Will Reichard this week. He has been a rock solid. Whoever the kicker is for the Vikings has been rock solid all year. All righty, folks. That wraps up all the news we have, all the ranking nuggets. Those rankings are going to be live after the show at rotostreetjournal.com. They're free each and every week for you. So they're not live quite yet, but I want to show you guys those updates, and then I will be posting them. You can find out when they're live at Roto Street. Well, but it should be about 10 minutes after the show. Those will be up and for you. We are about to fire up a rapid fire segment, but as always, we have to shout out our presenting sponsor. Mattresses, specifically Verlo mattresses in Danvers, Massachusetts, run by none other than one of my best friends, Pat Bailey. And yeah, maybe he's biased because he's best friend, but still, I would sing from the mountaintops how great this mattress is, and I truly, truly mean it. We don't really do sponsors on this show, and we moved to our new house. You guys have heard me say this multiple times now, so I won't beat the drum too many times, but I have been sleeping the best sleeps I've had in years. I was truly struggling, like really bad with some insomnia for the last half a year, and it's been just the best getting my Verlo mattress. I've slept V9 hybrid, beautiful, beautiful mattress, so comfortable each and every night. But just like they can help you get a good night's sleep, they can also help you get the right sleepers in there. So I'm going to we've talked about many of these guys at length, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but thank you again. The Verlo mattress, Verlo Danvers specifically, find them on your socials. If you're local, go visit Pat in the store. If you're looking for a mattress, there's truly no better place, and the price can't be, for the quality, it's better than any. I've had a Tempur-Pedic before. It blows it out of the water, and you pay a third of the price. Such a great spot. Can't be better than Verlo mattress in Danvers over there. But my sleepers from Verlo mattress are Jameis Winston, who we've nailed Talked about plenty, but 335 pass yards per start so far this year. Take out the Blizzard game, it's 367 with 47.7 pass attempts per game. An absolute animal, an absolute beast. Top 10 quarterback, +7 ECR. Steelers, bad matchup. So were the Broncos, who he nearly threw for 500 yards and 40 fantasy points on last week. So I am firing up Jameis as my quarterback sleeper of the week. He's out there in 70% of leagues right now. Braelon Allen, a very obvious one, but still out there in over half of leagues. A 240-pound monster with speed, about to be a potential every down back. A little nervous for Isaiah Davis. Could he vulture there? Maybe. And that's if you're looking for a deeper sleeper. I do like Isaiah Davis as well as a potential touchdown plunge type of guy. The other very deep sleeper we've mentioned a few times is, of course, Kendre Miller, fresh off the injury reserve, all gas, no brakes, at minimum a good stash. Probably don't want to start him quite yet, but a guy I'm very intrigued to see has that handcuff with benefits upside for your stretch run. Elijah Moore, the guy we've been asked about multiple times today, still out there in nearly 80% of leagues. He's had 12.5 or more half PPR points in 3 out of 5 starts with Jameis Winston. You toss out the Blizzard game, now you have a 75% hit rate. Full PPR, he's got 19 points in back-to-back games, non-Blizzard. He's got 12 or more targets in multiple games as well. Just a volume hog there is Elijah Moore. And, yes, Pittsburgh Steelers not a great matchup, but they are also giving up far more points to slot wide receivers, where we get Eli Moore far more often. 12, 9, 8, 5, and 14 targets. That 5-target day, again, being that Blizzard game. Great volume otherwise. 8 is low. Awesome play this week. And the last Verlo sleeper I got for you, last year's highest scoring tight end in your fantasy playoffs, Juwan Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. 3 straight top 12 weeks to close out last year. 11, 14, and 23 fantasy points to close out the season last year. Doesn't matter for this year, right? I get it. Except for the fact that Taysom Hill is now knocked out. 17 touches 2 weeks ago, 10 touches through 3 quarters last week. So now we got a bunch of volume. A volume sponge like Taysom Hill is gone. And Juwan Johnson was coming off his best usage anyways, even with Taysom Hill in. 19% target share, 79% of the routes, 21% air yard share last week as well. And so now with no Taysom Hill, you got the Giants this week. I absolutely love Juwan Johnson for this week and for your fantasy stretch runs indeed. That, again, is our Verlo Mattress Sleepers of the Week. Thank you once again to Pat and everybody, Megan at Verlo Mattress. You guys are the best. We greatly appreciate it. But, guys, that is our sponsored segment. As promised, I wanted to do a little extra today because you guys have been so kind and so generous with all of the super chats. So even though we are right at the 10 o'clock where we all sign off every single time, I do want to set a timer for rapid fire because this is awesome. And I'm going to, in 3 weeks, it's just going to be like, I wake up for those Sundays and it's just like something's missing here. So 20 minutes, I'm going to do a rapid fire. I'm going to try to mow through all of this. Thank you again so much, Wolfpack, with 33 super chats today. That is a new record, as are the 2,000 live viewers we have right now. So appreciated. No need for any more super chats or anything like that, but a thumbs up if you've enjoyed what you've heard, if you find it helpful at all, and certainly some new names here as well for the morning stream. We'd love to have you subscribe and check out the Roto Street Journal YouTube page and, of course, rotostreetjournal.com, where you'll find the rankings. You'll find such good content. Our writing staff is incredible. So one last call for that thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets. It is so generous and so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Let me start a 20-minute rapid fire. We're going overtime today, baby, because you guys are the best. Thanks again. Let's crush it. 20 minutes start now. PPR, win to get in. Jennings, Waddle, Thielen, please help. I got to go Juwan Jennings there. Carter, Montgomery. Let's go from Bulldog. First to hit the like. Hell yeah. Let's go, Bulldog. Greatly appreciate it. My man, Eric Buckman. Isaiah Davis, or you are down bad. I'd go Amir Abdullah, though. You know you're going to be getting the dink and dunk touches. Maybe he breaks one for a score. We've seen it happen already this year. Braelon Allen or Zach Charbonnet. I go Zach Charbonnet. 40 touches compared to 3 touches for his backup in his 2 starts, 24 and 15 points. If Braelon Allen did that, we feel great. Let's go with the guy who's already done it. Yo, so Tony, what's going on? PPR, Pollard or Charbonnet? Smash the like, fellas. Let's go. I go Pollard very slightly over Charbonnet. I don't know, though. Very, very close. But yeah, I lean Pollard with that Jags matchup just slightly. What's up, Kimberly H? Start Shakir or Jennings. I'm going to go with Shakir. Very tough matchup with the Bills there. And then you have that Guerendo or Tracy. I like Tracy very, very slightly over Guerendo right there. What's going on, Joel? Having bye week trouble at wide receiver. Win and in. Chase Brown. Yeah, you got to have that. Picked up McCormick and Corum, but Spears, Singletary. Yeah. So we're getting ugly here. I like Sincere McCormick of those streamers there. Giuseppe, what's going on? It's win in week. If Pickens doesn't play, do I flex Chuba or Thielen? I'd probably go with Chuba in that case. I really don't like the matchup for either, but especially Thielen. Disley or Ferguson? I am going Ferguson, Giuseppe. And you already asked these ones in a super chat for sure. So I would go NWI over there as well. And then I would go Muth over Pitts. I'm never saying Pitts, my man, for sure. And then we got, let's get this man to 5K, like and share, sub best in the business. Indeed, we'd love to hit 5K. We got 2,000 here today. We could do it. If you guys pop on over to YouTube and hit that thumbs up or the subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate it. And then we got some people commenting over there, Riley and Giuseppe, figuring out when we go live. Start Swift or Bucky. Oh, it's 110% Bucky Irving. Running back 1, 3, and 6 these last few weeks. Come on. Jennings or BTJ? I'm going BTJ. That tough Chicago matchup has me a little bit nervous. Cap for life. Good morning, beautiful people. He says, good morning, beautiful yourself. Let's go, Cap for life. We got Disley or Brendan Cooks. I would go Disley, I think, Cap for life. Senor Rojo, there's your question. My bad. I know you said a super sticker earlier. Need 2 PPR. Hopefully you're still here, Senor Rojo. But that super sticker popped up, but I couldn't find your question. I didn't realize it was at the top of the list. I was kind of scanning where your sticker was. There you are. Worthy, Westbrook, Akini, or Braelon Allen. I am definitely going Braelon Allen as the top option there, featured back. And then Westbrook, Akini is where I would lean for, again, all the touchdowns. I get it, but man, it has been pretty solid. We did get 2 super chats, so I'll let these guys cut the line, but I can't really go out of rapid fire mode and go too deep in these, Raid. Saeed, thank you so much, though, for this McCormick or Leggett deep flex injuries. I get it. It's that time of the year. I do prefer McCormick, those 12 carries last week. And then, of course, we had those comments from Antonio Pierce, 12 carries last week. I hope to get that up even more. So I'm going to ride with the running back in that case. Just a tough matchup for the Panthers all around there. And then FZ Ware, wait on Ladd and start Palmer or start Waddle. I think Ladd is so much above Waddle that if he plays, it is well worth the wait. Like Palmer without Ladd versus Waddle is pretty similar. So, yeah, I think this is definitely one FZ Ware where I would wait that one out because Ladd, you get to him like 9 catches and like 170 yards in the first half. Last week, sheesh, was an absolute beast. So, ultimately, I think it's well worth waiting for because I don't think the gap between Waddle and Palmer without a Ladd McConkey is that wide at all. So, yeah, I would wait that one out despite that blowout from Waddle just a few weeks ago. Thank you guys so much for those super chats. We left off with Senor Rojo, and now we are at Carl Nathan. 3 teams, 3 questions. Harris or B. Allen? I'm going Braelon Allen. I'm going to go Najee. I'm going to play it safe because both are potential committee backs. We got to see it with Allen first, in my opinion. So going Najee Harris, Mooney or Taysom Tyreek Hill or Devonta. I'm definitely going Tyreek Hill there. And Nabers or D. Smith or Jennings. I would go Jennings for those ones, Carl Nathan. I'm bald. I'm 23 too. Love the name. Hey, no, at least you're rocking it, brother. Plenty of people out there love the bald. So good for you. One spot other playoffs, but I have the same record as the guy above, down by 20 points. So you need some points, baby. Let's go. Full PPR. Nabers, Najee, or Waddle. I am scared of the Nabers injury as well. As much as he could be that force that pushes you over the edge. I lean Najee. He's been just feasting lately. And Waddle makes me nervous. But, man, the blow-up from Waddle a couple weeks ago. I go Najee, though. Michael Lopez. Good morning, brother. With Walker out, should I start both Tampa Bay running backs? Or go, you got to go London. Go Bucky and London there, starting Brown, Puka, Chase. Whew, great options indeed. But, yeah, I'm going to go Bucky Irving and Drake London there. Michael Lopez, great options. Writing from London. Oh, yeah, only discovered you 3 weeks ago. Hell, yeah. I forgot to say at the top of the show, as I always do, love to know where you guys are coming from. So cool. As you know, we're in London, baby. Thank you. I'm so glad you discovered us, Carl. Hopefully you've subbed. Awesome stuff. I'm glad you enjoyed the show, and thanks for returning. We had this one for Adam Heatwave already as a super chat. I think we already got that one. Braelon Allen or Charbonnet. I would go Charbonnet. We've talked about that a few times. But remember, Adam Heatwaves, we said go Keenan Allen. He was part of that, and Devonta Adams with the two. Just to remind you of what we said. Jeffrey Key coming over from X. Start 2 PPR, Warren, McCormick, or Disley. I would probably go in a full PPR Disley, and I think McCormick is where I'm leaning for that one. Jeffrey Key. Bucks D or Cardinals D. I'm going Buck D. Ross H, although Cardinals are better for the playoffs, so I don't mind stashing them either if that's more long-term. Happy birthday, as always, for my man, Big D Bob. BTJ or Braelon Allen, non-PPR. I go Braelon Allen and hope for those touchdowns there. Let's roll. All right, we have Hunter Heath Hinson. I remember, I think Triple H, it's been a while since I've seen you, if I'm not mistaken. Brock Purdy or Caleb Williams, I'm going Purdy. And Guerendo or Pollard, I'm going Pollard. But, man, no, I love Guerendo today, too. We got Trey Tucker. It was Sean Tucker. I think I said either way, the Tucker didn't matter, Lewis, is what I'm getting at. Need 2 running backs. Tracy, Irving, Guerendo, Aaron Jones, Jennings, Connor, Win, and In. I'm going to go Irving as the clear top guy, and then I like Tracy just slightly over Aaron Jones there. And then we need Tracy rather over Guerendo, and then I'm going to do Guerendo in the slot. Oh, no, yeah, James Conner too. Sheesh. I'm going to go Connor, I'm going to go Irving, and I'm going to go Tyron Tracy as my 3 options there. Carl, Nathan. Half PPR flex for Lucio. Good to see you. Love set you back. Need upside. Guerendo, Najee, Pacheco, MHJ. How would you rank them? For strictly upside, I would go Guerendo, then MHJ, then Najee, then Pacheco is how I would rank them. I know ball. My man Thaddeus. Good to see you, brother. I don't know if you have any questions, but reaffirming that you know ball. You and Joe Mixon, baby. Hey, Wolfman. Morning, all. I'm late today. You are late today, CPD. Where you been? Different league. Half PPR. Go Tracy or Nabers if he's a go. I go Tracy either way this week. Too risky with Nabers, even if he goes potentially on my snap count. Forrester, when I'm in, here's my problem. Start 2, Pickens, Ladd, Addison, Ott, and then Herbert or Williams at QB. Thanks, Wolf. Wish me luck. Of course, versus Fella. Every fella already super chatted me, so I'm not answering you, Austin. No, I'm just kidding. I love it, though. You two are the best, constantly battling down here in your stretch runs here. I would go Pickens, and I would go, Ladd is definitely the highest for me, but obviously a risk. If we're not getting any positive trends or positive notes, I'd probably just slap in Addison with a great matchup against the Falcons as well. It definitely comes down to the 3 receivers for me. And I'd go Herbert over Williams. The receiver questions do make me nervous about Herbert, but yet I don't have faith in Williams myself. And maybe that's my Achilles heel, but I don't. I'm going Pickens and Ladd. But, man, if there's no positive notes, I'm happy to pivot to Addison as well. Raphael Clark, Westbrook, Elijah Moore, Mooney. I like Mooney of those options, Raphael Clark. I'm playing Moore. Chubb has looked horrible. Yeah, love it. There you go. And it was Chuba, not Chubb, but either one has looked pretty bad lately. Pass the mic karaoke. Amazing content as always. Thank you so much for your kind words. Pass the mic. So got Cup in my flex. I got Bucky, Guerendo, and Braelon Allen and Judy on my bench. Stay with Cup or risk it. I got to go Cooper Cup. You got great. No, I'm going Bucky Irving over Cup, I think. I love Cup, though. How do you not have Cup as a receiver? That is crazy lineup, my man. But I think out of all these options, it comes down to Bucky versus Cup, and I prefer Bucky the way he has been playing. And you guys are answering each other, which I love to see. Good stuff. We got Nabers or Addison, and then I see Adam Heatwaves with your question that we answered earlier. Nabers or Addison. I'm going Addison. I'm not taking on that risk. BTJ or Tracy at flex. I'm going Tyron Tracy there. Justin McKellar. I love that Saints matchup. Cambray Hinson, Brock Purdy or Kurt. I'm going Purdy, and I'm going to go Pollard over Guerendo. Very slightly, though. Jeff Marcus, Garrett Wilson, or Evan Ingram. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson for the flex and hope that the talent wins out there. Jeff Marcus. Timmy T, pick 2, half PPR. Ridley, BTJ, Juwan Jennings. I'd be benching Juwan Jennings here with that tough Chicago matchups. We be watching Wicks depleted me, bro, coming in with his wine every week. We've all been depleted, and we all still get it. Why didn't you have Bucky Irving in week 1 where I told you to add him before anybody else does? We all deplete our fab and then we all recover. You've somehow managed to whine 13 straight weeks. I think it's a bit at this point, and I love it. Leaning into it. Keep going. Salty Hooligan, start Braelon or Tracy. I'm going Tracy over Braelon. I have to do that myself. Can't believe I have no questions this week so far. Finally seem prepared. Let's go, CPD. Although you super chatted a great question earlier. Wolf got screwed by greed on the burger. Oh, that was so brutal, Coach Sheik. None of us could have seen that coming. That sucks. 2 touchdowns the week before, too, of course. Need the win to get in. Half PPR. Bucky, Tracy, Braelon Allen, DK Ladd. I got to go Bucky there. Keep riding the hot hand. And then I go Saints D over Bucks D very slightly there, Coach Zeke. Played against Reed. Nice. So you don't need a ton of upside. I still go Jameis, though. Like Levis is foolproof either, Gregory. So I do prefer Jameis myself. Please rank these QBs for me considering their O-line strength. Stafford, Richardson, May, Mac Jones, Wilson, Jameis. So Richardson's not playing this week. If this is a rest of season question, I guess. Neither is May. So it must be a rest of season question. I go Jameis. I go Stafford. Then I go May. Then I go Richardson. Then I go Russell Wilson, Mac Jones. Thank you so much, Turgery Kilger. Do I bench Tay Adams or D-Hop? Starting Mike Evans. If I win, I'm in. I'd probably play Adams and bench D-Hop there, Braden. Very, very tough question, though. Top of the morning to you, E. Macho. Indeed. Jonnu Smith at tight end. Would you start Hurts or Tua? I got to stick with Hurts in that Carolina matchup. As much as Saquon could go nuts, Hurts could also run in 3 touchdowns. Continuing on, we are at the 8-minute mark. One last call with 2,053. If you hear that thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter or YouTube, it is so greatly appreciated. Thank you guys again so much. Just goes such a long way. And of course, any new subscribers would be so greatly appreciated. And all this content is going to be at RoastRejournal.com. Let's keep going with that rapid fire, though. Wolfpack, Justine Garcia, pick 3, half PPR, D-Hop, Adams, Keenan, Keon, Elijah Moore, or Thielen. I am going to go Keenan Allen, then I'm going to go Devonta Adams, and then I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins with Elijah Moore very closely behind Justine. Rico Vargas, Nabers or Metcalf? I'm going to go Metcalf. Very worried about Nabers being limited if he even plays today. Michael Kucher, I think you already asked this one, and I went Winston, especially when you need the upside. Tay or D-Hop, we're going Devontae there. Gray, Juwan or Calcaterra with Kincaid out. I lean Juwan Johnson there, simp. The Verlo mattress Danvers sleeper of the day. Pickens, Tracy, BJ, B. Allen. Full PPR need 1 running back and 2 flex. For the running back, I'm going to go Tracy. And for the flex, I'm going to go Pickens and Braelon Allen, simp. Chris Snell, because Kendre Miller sucks. And I totally agree, Chris Snell. He absolutely pisses me off too. So I get it. But there's upside. There is upside. There's no doubt about it. Then we got Corey Jones. Pick 1. Pickens, Mooney, Devonta Smith. I'm going to go George Pickens there. Corey Jones. What defense? Titans or Saints? Please answer. I'm going to go Saints today. Just sizzling indeed. Let's go. Sincere McCormick or David Njoku? Oh, it's got to be David Njoku. 17 targets last week, Sylvester. Come on. On my super chat, may be confusing. You start 2. Not sure I have the stones to sit Nabers. I'm sitting Nabers this week. He scares the crap out of me, CPD. I don't actually remember the other options, but I am not. It scares me to sit him, but I'm still open to it. So I'm sitting Nabers for the other 2. I do remember that Hopkins versus Moore. Yeah, I'm sitting there. Oh, you're from Jersey. There you go. I thought for whatever reason I thought you're from California. I don't know why, but hey, Jersey baby. Kendre Miller, Vidal, Sean Tucker, or Homer. I am gonna go Kendre Miller out of these options. Aries, Cloud Bay. Need 2, BTJ, MHJ, Abdullah, Sincere. I would go BTJ and MHJ, Austin. I remember that super chat, actually. And then we already had this one. Mo doesn't like Westbrook Akini. I do actually like him, though. So me and Mo on opposite ends of that one. Ren Banks, morning, start tight end, Otten, Calcaterra, or Disley. I like Otten of these options. And then I would go Devonta Smith over these other options, Ren Banks. Good match against Carolina. Just joined the stream. What's up, McNin? Welcome. Hopefully you subscribe and enjoy the channel. Would love to have you here longer. Would you start between Sincere McCormick and Braelon Allen? I would definitely go Braelon Allen in that one. Kendre Miller, Vidal, Sean Tucker, or Homer for a Reese. Oh, you already asked that one. Stop repeating yourself. Really hate Chuba today. Do we hate him enough to start Disley or Muth over him? Hemdug, you always trust your gut. If you were going to bench him, it'd be for Disley, but I'd play Chuba in that case. Really not looking. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a tough matchup for sure. Mooney worries me. Why are you repeating Hemdug? You've been here a million times. I see that repeat a million times over there. Until Cousins, he worries me, but he's still getting it done. A. Jones or Irving. I'm going to go Irving easily over Aaron Jones right now. 5 carries last week. Sketchy. Then we got with Breece out in running back wasteland, half PPR, projected to win, need a safe floor. Brooks, Taylor, Junior Homer, or that. I would go. You don't have any safe floors here, dude. Sorry, DJ, but none of these are safe. I'd say maybe the safest in a maybe Homer. I don't know. None of those are safe at all, though. So Steve, I tried to control F, but half the comments disappear. You have to keep scrolling up to get them to reload. It honestly doesn't work. I tried. Trust me. First time, long time. Who's this guy? Christopher Jason. Nabers, Hopkins, or Warren. I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins for Christopher Jason, whoever you might be. Thank you for your first time at the stream. But no, I go DeAndre. I am worried about Nabers. I'm benching him this week, which terrifies me even more, I think, than playing him. Bucky, Charbonnet, Guerendo. Pick 2 running backs. I'm going to go Bucky and Charbonnet for that one, Dexter. Benching Guerendo, even though I do really like him. And then, as he mentions, you got to get ahead of D. Indeed. Full PPR, need a running back and flex. Hubbard, Connor, Devontae, JSN, Braelon, and Myers. I'm going to go Connor at the running back, and I'm going to go JSN at the flex, very slightly over Jacoby Myers, a great play as well. Better stash, Kamani Vidal or Algier? I like Algier more there, Giuseppe. I dropped Spears instead of Bigsby an hour ago. That's too bad. I do prefer Spears myself as a handcuff. Marvin Harrison for flex or Guerendo? I'm going to go Guerendo there. Jesse H is where I lean. Repeat question there. Full PPR. You typed it out like 5 different ways. I can't find that. All right, full PPR. Aaron Jones or Tracy Jr. I prefer Tracy Jr. I'll see you first. I may have kept Spears. Yeah. Thank you so much for the help. Josh, thank you so much again for your generous super chat. Double time. 10 and $5. $15 today. You're the man. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Get him to 5K. Let's go. Indeed, Giuseppe. Greatly appreciate it. Indeed, please like, share, and subscribe. Ralphield Clark, PPR, Elijah Moore, Mooney, or Westbrook. I like Elijah. No, I go Mooney for that one, Raphael. I think you are repeating your question. Please stop doing that. Ben Goodson's friend. I'm walking with Levis. Hey, there you go. I just don't trust him at all myself. And then we got, would you rather hold on to Green Bay defense and LA defense for playoffs or pick up Spears and Wright? It's tough, Coach Zeke. I'd probably pick up one of the handcuffs. Wright today treats me with no Mostert as well, but I like Spears. I'd probably drop LAC and hope you can get him in a couple weeks if you make it that far. All righty. We got good morning, indeed, Spencer Games. Kendrick, God, keep repeating. This is where we need this is the one week we don't have our moderator, the busiest week of the year. We did get a super chat, so I want to make sure to jump to that. I didn't even see when that one came in. 10:17 over here, so just a couple minutes ago. Gabe M asking, sit one, Elijah Moore, Juwan Jennings, or DJ Moore? I would be sitting Juwan Jennings, honestly, Gabe M from that one. Elijah Moore has just been so rock solid whenever they've missed some time when he's removed from the lineup. Alrighty. And then we had Devonta Smith or Braelon Allen. I'm going to go Braelon Allen over Devonta Smith for that one. Sorry, just lost the spot really. And that's actually the last. That's the timer going off. So thank you again for that final super chat. That's going to be where we wrap up a little 20-minute overtime here. But I had to with so many great questions, so much generosity. 36, a record 36 super chats. So generous of you. 2,067. The final number. I think that's the best live stream we've ever had here in week 14. A crucial week, guys. Thank you so much for being here on this Sunday morning. I hope you get everything you need in week 14. On your way out, one last call for a thumbs up, a heart, a retweet, a share. It goes such a long way. And of course, check out rotostreetjournal.com. The updated rankings will be live momentarily for you guys, and so much other great content is up there live as well. You guys are the best. What an amazing Sunday morning you have made this, and I cannot wait to hear how you all do. Fantasy playoffs next week, baby. Let's get in. Let's get what we need. Have a wonderful Sunday. In a world of fantasy sheep, guys, be the wolf. We'll see you next week. Later, guys.